right in. Welcome to the latest episode of Doomed with Matt Binder. I am your host, as you all know by now, Matt Binder. It's in the name, right? And I didn't realize till this morning that today's podcast live stream would coincide with the 2023 State of the Union address. So I thought, what better way to watch this than with all of you? So let's do this. Apparently, we are waiting for the president, Joe Biden, to show up for his State of the Union address. Little bit disheveled here, as I was dealing with some technical issues, of course, as usual. As always with me, right? But we should be good to go. There probably won't be all that many people watching on the YouTube feed with us today because, frankly, there are a lot of friggin' watch-alongs. A lot of people do this. Why? I don't know. Oh, here we go. Sorry, I forgot to put the sound up for the Mr. Speaker, the President of the United States moment. But it was there, I assure you. So let's see what old Joe Biden has to say today. Over under, by the way, on the State of the Union being strong. This will take a hot minute for him to say hello to everybody. What I should have done is I should have set up a Fortnite stream to do during this. Play some split screen, Fortnite, State of the Union. I gotta get a gaming stream going. After this is over, as usual, I will take calls. I got some things to talk about, some news I'd like to discuss. Frankly, I would really like to talk about the discourse around ChatGPT today. While Joe Biden's walking down the alley here, the walkway here. The aisle. That's the word I was looking for, I guess. I don't know. I'm going to quickly go grab my drink because I forgot it. And I don't know if I can deal with this without soda pumping through my veins. Give me 1 second. I'll keep this on for you, obviously.
Hello, hello, hello. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Members of Congress, I have the high privilege and the distinct honor to present to you the President of the United States.
Mr. Speaker. Thank you. You can smile. It's okay. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you. Please. Mr. Speaker, Madam Vice President, our First Lady and Second Gentleman, good to see you guys up there. Members of Congress.
What'd I miss?
By the way, Chief Justice, I may need a court order. She gets to go to the game tomorrow, next week. I have to stay home. Got to work something out here. Members of the Cabinet, leaders of our military, Chief Justice, Associate Justice, and retired Justice of the Supreme Court, and to you, my fellow Americans. You know, I start tonight by congratulating the 118th Congress and the new Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy.
It's not the same without Nancy Pelosi back there. Not the same.
Speaker, I don't want to ruin your reputation, but I look forward to working with you.
Do prefer
I want to congratulate the new leader of the House Democrats, the first African-American minority leader in history, Hakeem.
Oh. I don't know what I did there. I hit mute by accident.
He won in spite of the fact I campaigned for him. Congratulations to the longest-serving leader in the history of the United States Senate, Mitch McConnell. Where are you, Mitch? And congratulations to Chuck Schumer, another term as Senate Minority Leader. I think you. Only this time you have a slightly bigger majority, Mr. Leader, and you're in a majority leader. About that much bigger? Yeah. Well, I tell you what, I want to give special recognition to someone who I think is going to be considered the greatest speaker in the history of the House of Representatives, Nancy Pelosi. Folks, the story of America is a story of progress and resilience, of always moving forward, of never, ever giving up. It's a story unique among all nations. We're the only country that has emerged from every crisis we've ever entered stronger than we got into it. Look, folks, that's what we're doing again. 2 years ago, the economy was reeling. I stand here tonight after we've created, with the help of many people in this room, 12 million new jobs, more jobs created in 2 years than any president's created in 4 years, because of you all, because of the American people. 2 years ago, COVID had shut down, our businesses were closed, our schools were robbed of so much, and today, COVID no longer controls our lives. And 2 years ago, democracy faced its greatest threats in civil war, and today, though bruised, our democracy remains unbowed and unbroken. As we gather here tonight, We're writing the next chapter in the great American story, a story of progress and resilience. When world leaders ask me to define America, and they do, believe it or not, I can define it in one word, and I mean this: possibilities. We don't think anything is beyond our capacity. Everything is a possibility. You know, we're often told that Democrats and Republicans can't work together. But over the past 2 years, we've proved the cynics and naysayers wrong.
Did you?
Yes, we
No?
disagreed plenty. And yes, there were times when Democrats went alone. But time and again, Democrats and Republicans came together to defend a stronger and safer Europe. You came together to pass once-in-a-generation infrastructure law, building bridges connecting our nation and our people. We came together to pass the most significant law ever, helping victims exposed to toxic burn pits. And in fact,
Listen, I feel like you could bring up like the law or two without acting like there's some broad bipartisan effort
in fact,
in Congress.
I signed over 300 bipartisan pieces of legislation since becoming president.
Yeah, but what are those
From
300?
reauthorizing the Violence Against Women Act, the Electoral Count Reform Act, the Respect for Marriage Act that protects the right to marry the person you love. And to my Republican friends, if we could work together the last Congress, there's no reason we can't work together and find consensus on important things in this Congress as well. I think folks,
This shot, I'll block Biden.
you all are as formed as I am, but I think the people send us a clear
just
message.
At the same time.
Fighting for the sake of fighting, power for the sake of power, conflict for the sake of conflict gets us nowhere. That's always been my vision of our country, and I know it's many of yours. To restore the soul of this nation, to rebuild the backbone of America, America's middle class, and to unite the country.
What do we mean?
We've been sent here to finish the job, in my view. For decades, the middle class has been hollowed out.
Yeah, what are you going to about it?
And not no one administration, but for a long time. Too many good-paying manufacturing jobs move overseas.
Every administration
Factories
says
closed
this.
down.
What do they
Once
do?
thriving cities and towns that many of you represent became shadows of what they used to be. And along the way, something else we lost: pride, our sense of self-worth. I ran for president to fundamentally change things, to make sure our economy works for everyone, so we can all feel that pride in what we do. To build an economy from the bottom up and the middle out, not from the top down. Because when the middle class does well, the poor have a ladder up, and the wealthy still do very well. We all do well. I know a lot of you always kid me for always quoting my dad, but my dad used to say, Joey, a job's about a lot more than a paycheck. He really would say this. It's about a lot more than a paycheck. It's about your dignity. It's about respect. It's about being able to look your kid in the eye and say, honey, it's going to be okay, and mean it. Well, folks, so let's look at the results. We're not finished yet by any stretch of the imagination, but unemployment rate is at 3.4%, a 50-year low. A near record unemployment. Near record unemployment for Black and Hispanic workers. We've already created, your help, 800,000 good-paying manufacturing jobs, the fastest growth in 40 years. And where is it written? Where is it written that America can't lead the world in manufacturing? And I don't know where that's written. For too many decades, we imported projects and exported jobs. Now, thanks to what you've all done, we're exporting American products and creating American jobs. Folks, inflation has been a global problem because the pandemic disrupted our supply chains, and Putin's unfair and brutal war in Ukraine disrupted energy supplies as well as food supplies, blocking all that grain in Ukraine. But we're better positioned than any country on earth right now. But we have more to do. But here at home, inflation is coming down. Here at home, gas prices are down $1.50 from their peak. Food inflation is coming down, not fast enough, but coming down. Inflation has fallen every month for the last 6 months, while take-home pay has gone up. Additionally, over the last 2 years, a record 10 million Americans applied to start new businesses. 10 million. And by the way, every time someone starts a small business is an act of hope. And Madam Vice President, I want to thank you for leading that effort to ensure that small businesses have access to capital and the historic laws we enacted that are going to just come into being. Standing here last year, I shared with you a story of American genius and possibilities. Semiconductors, small computer chips the size of a fingerprint that power everything from cell phones to automobiles and so much more. These chips were invented in America. Let's get that straight. They were invented in America. We used to make 40% of the world's chips. In the last several decades, we lost our edge. We're down to only producing 10%. We all saw what happened during the pandemic when chip factories shut down overseas. Today's automobiles need 3,000 chips each of those automobiles. Right. But American automobiles couldn't make enough cars because there weren't enough chips. Car prices went up, people got laid off. So did everything from refrigerators to cell phones. We can never let that happen again. That's why we came together to pass the Bipartisan Chips and Science Act.
Chips should be bipartisan. Chocolate chips.
Folks,
potato chips.
I know I've been criticized for saying this, but I'm not changing my view. We're going to make sure the supply chain for America begins in America. The supply chain begins in America. We've already created 800,000 new manufacturing jobs without this law, before the law kicks in. With this new law, we're going to create hundreds of thousands of new jobs across the country. And I mean all across the country, throughout not just the coast, but through the middle of the country as well. That's going to come from companies that have announced more than $300 billion in investment in American manufacturing over the next few years.
I can't get over the Columbus, grain in Ukraine. I'm still thinking of that
building
one.
Semiconductor factories on 1,000 acres, literally a field of dreams. It's going to create 10,000 jobs, that one investment. 7,000 construction jobs, 3,000 jobs in those factories once they're finished. They call them factories. Jobs paying an average of $130,000 a year, and many do not require a college degree. Jobs. Because we work together, these jobs where people don't have to leave home to search for opportunity. And it's just getting started. Think about the new homes, the small businesses, the medium-sized businesses. So much more that's going to be needed
medium-sized businesses
to support those 3,000 permanent jobs and the factories that are going to be built. Talk to mayors and governors, Democrats and Republicans, and they'll tell you what this means for their communities. We're seeing these field of dreams transform to the heartland. But to maintain the strongest economy in the world, we need the best infrastructure in the world. And folks, as you
Pete
all
Buttigieg.
know, we used to be
That was his
number
line.
one in the world in infrastructure. We've sunk to 13th in the world.
As in
the
his
United
line to
States
stand
of
up.
America,
So that's what he
13th
did.
in the world in infrastructure, modern infrastructure. But now we're coming back because we came together and passed the bipartisan infrastructure law, the largest investment in infrastructure since President Eisenhower's interstate highway system. And folks,
Trains.
already we've funded over 20,000 projects, including major airports from Boston to Atlanta to Portland, projects that are going to put thousands of people to work rebuilding our highways, our bridges, our railroads, our tunnels, ports, airports, clean water, high-speed internet, all across America. Urban, rural, tribal. And folks, we're just getting started. We're just getting started.
Let's get it started.
And I mean it sincerely. I want to thank my Republican friends who voted for the law, and my Republican friends who voted against it as well. But I still get asked to fund the projects in those districts as well. But don't worry. I promise I'll be a president for all Americans.
That was good.
We'll fund these projects. And I'll see you at the groundbreaking. Look.
That was clever. I'll give it to him on that
This
one.
law will further unite all of America. Projects like Brent Spence Bridge in Kentucky over the Ohio River, built 60 years ago, badly needed repairs, one of the nation's most congested freight routes, carrying $2 billion worth of freight every single day across the Ohio River. And folks, we've been talking about fixing it for decades, but we're really finally going to get it done. Yes. I went there last month with Democrats and Republicans, and from both states, to deliver a commitment of $1.6 billion for this project. And while I was there, I met a young woman named Sarah, who's here tonight. I don't know where Sarah is. Is she up in the box? I don't know.
We're going to have
Sarah,
one of those.
how are you?
Oh, okay. I thought we were about to have one of those old Biden stories.
For 30 years, I learned, she told me she'd been a proud member of the Iron Workers Local 44, known as the Cowboys in the Sky.
Why are we... What's going on? Why are we...
The folks who built...
Why we... No, not this! Definitely not this video game!
Ohio River,
there we
building
go.
that new bridge. God bless her. That's pride. And that's what we're also building. We're building back pride. Look, we're also replacing poisonous lead pipes that go into 10 million homes in America. 400,000 school and child care centers.
People who don't know, that was
so
a commercial for the Harry Potter game.
Every child in America can drink the water instead of having permanent damage to their brain. Look, we're making sure that every community in America has access to affordable high-speed internet. No parent should have to drive by McDonald's parking lot to help them do their homework online with their kids, which many thousands were doing across the country. And when we do these projects, and again I get criticized for this, but I make no excuses for it, we're going to buy American. We're going to buy America. Folks, and it's totally consistent with international trade rules. Buy America has been the law since 1933, but for too long, past administrations, Democrat and Republican, have not anymore. Tonight, I'm announcing new standards that require all construction materials used in federal infrastructure projects to be made in America. Made in America. I mean it. Lumber, glass, drywall, fiber optic cable. And on my watch, American roads, bridges, and American highways are going to be made with American products as well. Folks, my economic plan is about investing in places and people that have been forgotten. So many of you listening to me tonight, I know you feel it. So many of you felt like you've just simply been forgotten. Amid the economic upheaval of the past 4 decades, too many people have been left behind.
Forgotten man.
And treated like they're invisible.
Wasn't that Trump's?
Maybe that's you watching from home. Remember the jobs that went away. You remember them, don't you? The folks at home remember them. You wonder whether the path even exists anymore for your children to get ahead without having to move away. Well, that's why I get that. That's why we're building an economy where no one's left behind. Jobs are coming back. Pride is coming back because choices we made in the last several years. You know, this is, in my view, a blue-collar blueprint to rebuild America and make a real difference in your lives at home. For example, too many of you lay in bed at night like my dad did, staring at the ceiling, wondering what in God's name happens if your spouse gets cancer, or your child gets deadly ill, or something happens to you. What are you going to get money to pay for those medical bills? Or are you going to have to sell the house or try to get a second mortgage on it? I get it. I get it. With the Inflation Reduction Act that I signed into law, we're taking on powerful interests to bring health care costs down so you can sleep better at night with more security. You know, we pay more for prescription drugs than any nation in the world. Let me say it again. We pay more for prescription drugs than any major nation on earth. For example, 1 in 10 Americans has diabetes. Many of you in this chamber do, and in the audience. But every day, millions need insulin to control their diabetes so they can literally stay alive. Insulin's been around for over 100 years. The guy who invented it didn't even patent it because he wanted it to be available for everyone. It cost the drug companies roughly $10 a vial to make that insulin. Packaging and all, you may get up to $13. But Big Pharma has been unfairly charging people hundreds of dollars, $400 to $500 a month, making record profits. Not anymore. Not anymore. So many things that we did are only now coming to fruition. We said we were doing this, and we said we passed the law to do it, but people didn't know because the law didn't take effect until January 1 of this year. We capped the cost of insulin at $35 a month for seniors on Medicare. People are just finding out. I'm sure you're getting the same calls I'm getting. Look, there are millions of other Americans who do not or are not on Medicare, including 200,000 young people with type 1 diabetes who need this insulin to stay alive. Let's finish the job this time. Let's cap the cost of insulin for everybody at $35. Folks,
I mean, yeah,
Big Pharma's still going to do very well, I promise you.
On a very good tear here.
I promise you, they're going to do very well. This law also caps and won't even go into effect until 2025. Costs, out-of-pocket drug costs for seniors on Medicare at a maximum of $2,000 a year. You don't have to pay more than $2,000 a year, no matter how much your drug costs are. Because you know why? You all know it. Many of you, like many in my family, have cancer. You know the drugs can range from $10,000, $11,000, $14,000, $15,000 for the cancer drugs. And if drug prices rise faster than inflation, drug companies are going to have to pay Medicare back the difference. We're finally giving Medicare the power to negotiate drug prices. Bringing down prescription drug costs doesn't just save seniors money, it cuts the federal deficit by billions of dollars, by hundreds of billions of dollars. Because these prescription drugs are drugs purchased by Medicare to keep their commitment to the seniors. Well, guess what? Instead of paying $400 or $500 a month, you're paying $15. That's a lot of savings for the federal government. And by the way, why wouldn't we want that? Now, some members here are threatening, and I know it's not an official party position, so I'm not going to exaggerate. was threatening to repeal the Inflation Reduction Act. As my coach, that's okay, that's fair. As my football coach used to say, lots of luck in your senior year.
Oh, yeah, I got to hand it to him. He's, you know,
if
once
you
he
try
was
anything to raise the cost of producing jobs, I will veto it. Look, I'm pleased to say that more Americans have health insurance now than ever in history. A record 16 million people are enrolled in the Affordable Care Act. And thanks to the law I signed last year, saving millions are saving $800 a year on their premiums. And by the way, that law was written and the benefit expires in 2025. So my plea to some of you, at least in this audience, let's finish the job and make these savings permanent. Expand coverage of Medicaid.
look at cinema in that
Look,
yellow
the
outfit
Inflation
just
Reduction
sitting
Act
there
is also
like
the
that.
most significant investment ever in climate change. Ever. Lowering utility bills, creating American jobs, leading the world to a clean energy future. I visited the devastating aftermath of record floods, droughts, storms, and wildfires from Arizona to Mexico to all the way up to the Canadian border. More timber has been burned, as I've observed from helicopters, than the entire state of Missouri. And we don't have global warming? Not a problem. In addition to emergency recovery, from Puerto Rico to Florida to Idaho, we're rebuilding for the long term. New electric grids that are able to weather major storms and not prevent those forest fires. Roads and water systems will withstand the next big flood. Clean energy to cut pollution and create jobs in communities often left behind. We're going to build 500,000 electric vehicle charging stations installed across the country by tens of thousands of IBEW workers. And we're helping families save more than $1,000 a year with tax credits to purchase electric vehicles and efficient appliances, energy-efficient appliances. Historic conservation efforts to be responsible stewards of our land. Let's face reality. The climate crisis doesn't care if you're in a red or blue state. It's an existential threat.
Wow.
We have an obligation, not to ourselves, but to our children and grandchildren to confront it. I'm proud of how America, at last, is stepping up to the challenge. We're still going to need oil and gas for a while. But guess what? No, we do.
Cheering
But there's
for oil
so
and
much more to do. We got to finish the job. And we pay for these investments in our future by finally making the wealthiest and biggest corporations begin to pay their fair share. Just begin.
I go Han Omar.
Look, I'm a capitalist. I'm a capitalist, but pay your fair share. I think a lot of you at home agree with me and many people that you know. The tax system is not fair. It is not fair. Look, the idea that in 2020, 55 of the largest corporations in America, the Fortune 500, made $40 billion in profits and paid zero in federal taxes? Zero? Folks, it's simply not fair. But now, because of the law I signed, billion-dollar companies have to pay a minimum of
feisty in the crowd.
15%. God love them. 15%. That's less than a nurse pays. And I need to be crystal clear. I said at the very beginning, under my plans, as long as I'm president, nobody earning less than $400,000 will pay an additional penny in taxes. Nobody, not one penny. But let's finish the job. There's more to do. We have to reward work, not just wealth. Pass my proposal for the billionaire minimum tax. You know, There's 1,000 billionaires in America. It's up from about 600 in the beginning of the term. But no billionaire should be paying a lower tax rate than a school teacher or firefighter. I mean it. Think about it.
Like, what are the optics here to be the people booing for this right now?
I know you aren't enthusiastic about that, but think about it. Think about it. Have you noticed Big Oil just reported its profits, record profits? Last year they made $200 billion in the midst of a global energy crisis. I think it's outrageous.
Why?
They invested too little of that profit
Did the
in
screen
increased
freeze?
domestic production.
What's this shot of Mitch
And when I talked
McConnell
to
for
a
as
couple,
long
and
as they
said,
had
we're
it
afraid
on
you're going to
for?
shut down all the oil,
That was-
all the
that was
oil
awkward.
refineries anyway, so why should we invest in them? I said, we're going to need oil for at least another decade, and that's going to exceed and beyond that. We're going to need it. Production. If they had, in fact, invested in the production to keep gas prices down, instead, they used the record profits to buy back their own stock, rewarding their CEOs and shareholders. Corporations ought to do the right thing. That's why I propose we quadruple the tax on corporate stock buybacks and encourage long-term investments. They'll still make considerable profit. Let's finish the job and close the loophole to allow very wealthy to avoid paying their taxes. Instead of cutting the number of audits for wealthy taxpayers, I just signed a law to reduce the deficit by $114 billion by cracking down on wealthy tax cheats. That's being fiscally responsible. In the last 2 years, my administration has cut the deficit by more than $1.7 trillion, the largest deficit reduction in American history. Under the previous administration, the American deficit went up 4 years in a row. Because those record deficits, no president added more to the national debt in any 4 years than my predecessor. Nearly 25% of the entire national debt that took over 200 years to accumulate was added by just one administration alone, the last one. They're the facts. Check it out. Check it out. How did Congress respond to that debt? They did the right thing. They lifted the debt ceiling 3 times without preconditions or crisis. They paid American bills to prevent an economic disaster to the country. So tonight I'm asking the Congress to follow suit. Let's commit here tonight to the full faith and credit of the United States of America will never, ever be questioned. Some of my Republican friends want to take the economy hostage. I get it, unless I agree to their economic plans. All of you at home should know what those plans are. Instead of making the wealthy pay their fair share, some Republicans want Medicare and Social Security to sunset. I'm not saying it's a majority. Let me give you, anybody who doubts it, contact my office. I'll give you a copy. I'll give you a copy of the proposal. That means Congress doesn't vote. Well, I'm glad to see you. And I tell you, I enjoy conversion. You know, it means if Congress doesn't keep the programs the way they are, they'd go away. Other Republicans say, I'm not saying it's a majority of you. I don't even think it's even a significant, but it's being proposed by individuals. I'm not politely not naming them, but it's being proposed by some of you. Look, folks, the idea is that we're not going to be moved into being threatened to default on the debt if we don't respond. Folks, as we all apparently agree, Social Security and Medicare is off the books now, right? They're not to be stopped. All right. I'm ready. We got unanimity. Social Security and Medicare are a lifeline for millions of seniors. Americans have to pay into them from the very first paycheck they started. So tonight, let's all agree, and we apparently are, let's stand up for seniors. Stand up and show them. We will not cut Social Security. We will not cut Medicare. Those benefits belong to the American people. They earned it. And if anyone tries to cut Social Security, which apparently no one's going to do, and if anyone tries to cut Medicare, I'll stop them. I'll veto it. And look, I'm not going to allow them to be taken away. Not today, not tomorrow, not ever. But apparently it's not going to be a problem. Next month, when I offer my fiscal plan, I ask my Republican friends to lay down their plan as well. I really mean it. Let's sit down together and discuss our mutual plans together. Let's do that. I can tell you, the plan I'm going to show you is going to cut the deficit by another $2 trillion. And it won't cut a single bit of Medicare or Social Security. In fact, we're going to extend the Medicare Trust Fund at least 2 decades, because that's going to be the next argument. How do we keep it solvent, right? Well, we'll not raise tax on anyone making under 400 grand, but we'll pay for it the way we talked about tonight, by making sure that the wealthy and big corporations pay their fair share. Look. Here's the deal. They aren't just taking advantage of the tax code. They're taking advantage of you, the American consumer. Here's my message to all of you out there. I have your back. We're already preventing Americans from receiving surprise medical bills, stopping $1 billion surprise bills per month so far. We're protecting seniors' life savings by cracking down on nursing homes that commit fraud, endanger patient safety, prescribe drugs that are not needed. Millions of Americans can now save thousands of dollars because they can finally get a hearing aid over the counter without a prescription. Look, capitalism without competition is not capitalism. It's extortion. It's exploitation.
Wow.
Last year, I cracked down with the help of many of you on foreign shipping companies that were making you pay higher prices for every good coming into the country. I signed a bipartisan bill that cut shipping costs by 90%, helping American farmers, businessmen, and consumers. Let's finish the job. Pass the bipartisan legislation to strengthen antitrust enforcement and prevent big online platforms from giving their own products an unfair advantage.
I mean, listen, the usual critiques of Biden, obviously, and
My administration is also taking on junk fees.
But he's
Those
on
hidden
fire
surcharges
tonight.
too many companies use to make you pay more. For example, we're making airlines show you the full ticket price up front, refund your money if your flight is canceled or delayed.
And
we reduce exorbitant bank overdrafts by saving consumers more than $1 billion a year. We're cutting credit card late fees by 75% from $30 to $8.
Froze again.
Look.
I gotta refresh really fast. No, not this game again. We're back.
I know how unfair it feels when a company overcharges you and gets away with it. Not anymore. We've written a bill to stop it all. It's called the Junk Fee Prevention Act. We're going to ban surprise resort fees that hotels charge on your bill. Those fees can cost you up to $90 a night at hotels that aren't even resorts. The idea that cable, internet, and cell phone companies can charge you $200 or more if you decide to switch to another provider. Give me a break. We can stop service fees on tickets to concerts and sporting events and make companies disclose all the fees up front. And we'll prohibit airlines from charging $50 round trip for a family just to be able to sit together. Baggage fees are bad enough. Airlines can't treat your child like a piece of baggage. Americans are tired of being played for suckers.
I mean, this is
pass.
great stuff. Like, this is
Pass the
so
Junk-Free Prevention Act. So
common
companies stop
sense
ripping
and
us
speaks
off.
to people in a way
For
where
too
they don't have to
long,
be overtly
workers have been getting
political or
stiffed,
policy oriented. Like,
anymore.
that's a
We're beginning to restore the dignity of work. For example, I should have known this, but I didn't until 2 years ago. 30 million workers have to sign non-compete agreements with the jobs they take. 30 million. So a cashier at a burger place can't walk across town and take the same job at another burger place and make a few bucks more. It just changed. But they just changed it because we exposed it. That was part of the deal, guys. Look it up. But not anymore. We're banning those agreements, so companies have to compete for workers and pay them what they're worth.
did someone yell that that's not true? Is it every job? No, but there are numerous jobs, not at the executive level, literally like minimum wage jobs where those are the part of the agreements.
On my left,
I think
with the
Jimmy
right.
John's had a
I'm so
agreement
sick and
like
tired of
that.
companies
Where
breaking
if
the
you
law by
leave at Jimmy
preventing
John's,
workers
you
from
can't work
organizing.
at another sandwich
Pass the
shop for
PRO
like
Act.
2 years or something.
Because business
Which is
have a right.
ludicrous. If you're
Workers have a right
making
to form a
sandwiches at
union.
one place, you can't make them at another.
And let's guarantee all workers have a living wage. Let's make sure working parents can afford to raise a family with sick days, paid family medical leave, affordable child care. That's going to enable millions of more people to go and stay at work. And let's restore the full child tax credit,
Yes.
which gave tens of millions of parents
Yes.
some breathing room and cut child poverty in half to the lowest level in history. And by the way, when we do all these things, we increase productivity. We increase economic growth. So let's finish the job and get more families access to affordable, quality housing. Let's get seniors who want to stay in their homes the care they need to do so. Let's give more breathing room to millions of family caregivers looking after their loved ones. Pass my plan so we get seniors and people with disabilities the home care and services they need. And support the workers who are doing God's work. These plans are fully paid for, and we can afford to do them. Restoring the dignity of work means making education an affordable ticket to the middle class. You know, when we made public education, 12 years of it, universal in the last century, we made the best educated, best paid, we became the best educated, best paid nation in the world. But the rest of the world's caught up. It's caught up. Jill, my wife, who teaches full time, has an expression. I hope I get it right, kid. Any nation that out-educates us is going to out-compete us. Any nation that out-educates is going to out-compete us. Folks, we all know 12 years of education is not enough to win the economic competition of the 21st century. You want to have the best educated workforce, let's finish the job by providing access to preschool for 3 and 4 years old. Studies show that children who go to preschool are nearly 50% more likely to finish high school and go on to earn a 2 or 4 year degree, no matter their background they came from. Let's give public school teachers a raise. We're making progress by reducing student debt, increasing Pell Grants for working and middle-class families. Let's finish the job and connect students to career opportunities starting in high school. Provide access to 2 years of community college, the best career training in America in addition to being a pathway to a 4-year degree. Let's offer every American a path to a good career, whether they go to college or not. And folks, in the midst of the COVID crisis, when schools were closed and we were shutting down everything, let's recognize how far we came in the fight against the pandemic itself. While the virus is not gone, thanks to the resilience of the American people and the ingenuity of medicine, we've broken the COVID grip on us. COVID deaths are down by 90%. We've saved millions of lives and opened up our country. We opened our country back up, and soon we'll end the public health emergency. But that's called a public health emergency. But we'll remember the toll and pain that's never going to go away. More than 1 million Americans lost their lives to COVID. 1 million. Families grieving, children orphaned, empty chairs at the dining room table constantly reminding you that she used to sit there. Remembering them, we remain vigilant. We still need to monitor dozens of variants and support new vaccines and treatments. So Congress needs to fund these efforts and keep America safe. And as we emerge from this crisis stronger, we're also got to double down on prosecuting criminals who stole relief money meant to keep workers and small businesses afloat.
Some of those people are in that very room. Although, probably not the people they'll go after.
Before I came to office, you remember, during that campaign, the big issue was about inspector generals who would protect taxpayers' dollars who were sidelined. They were fired. Many people said we don't need them. And fraud became rampant. Last year, I told you the watchdogs are back. Since then, we've recovered billions of taxpayers' dollars. Now let's triple the anti-fraud strike force going after these criminals, double the statute of limitations on these crimes, and crack down on identity fraud by criminal syndicates stealing billions of dollars from the American people.
Republicans are going to go, woo, woo, yeah, we want identity fraud.
But for every dollar we put into fighting fraud, the taxpayers get back at least 10 times as much. It matters. It matters. Look, COVID left its scars, like the spike in violent crime in 2020, the first year of the pandemic. We have an obligation to make sure all people are safe. Public safety depends on public trust, as all of us know. But too often that trust is violated. Joining us tonight are the parents of Tyree Nichols. Welcome. We had to bury Tyree last week. As many of you personally know, there's no words to describe the heartache or grief of losing a child. But imagine if you lost that child at the hands of the law. Imagine having to worry whether your son or daughter came home from walking down the street, or playing in the park, or just driving a car. Most of us in here have never had to have the talk that brown and black parents have had to have with their children. Bo, Hunter, Ashley, my children, I never had to have the talk with them. I never had to tell them if a police officer pulls you over, turn your interior lights on right away. Don't reach for your license. Keep your hands on the steering wheel. Imagine having to worry like that every single time your kid got in a car. Here's what Tyree's mother shared with me when I spoke to her. When I asked her how she finds the courage to carry on and speak out. With the faith of God, she said her son was, quote, a beautiful soul, and something good will come of this. Imagine how much courage and character that takes. It's up to us, to all of us. We all want the same thing. Neighborhoods free of violence. Law enforcement who earns the community's trust. Just as every cop, when they pin on that badge in the morning, has a right to be able to go home at night, so does everybody else out there. Our children have a right to come home safely. Equal protection under the law is a covenant we have with each other in America. We know police officers put their lives on the line every single night and day. And we know we ask them in many cases to do too much, to be counselors, social workers, psychologists, responding to drug overdoses, mental health crises, and so much more. In one sense, we ask much too much of them. I know most cops and their families are good, decent, honorable people, the vast majority. But they risk their lives every time they put that shield on. But what happened to Tyree in Memphis happens too often. We have to do better. Give law enforcement the real training they need. Hold them to higher standards. Help them succeed in keeping us safe. We also need more first responders and professionals to address the growing mental health, substance abuse challenges. More resources to reduce violent crime and gun crime. More community intervention programs. More investment in housing, education, and job training. All this can help prevent violence in the first place. When police officers or police departments violate the public trust, they must be held accountable. With the support of the families of victims, civil rights groups, and law enforcement, I signed an executive order for all federal officers, banning chokeholds, restricting no-knock warrants, and other key elements of the George Floyd Act. Let's commit ourselves to make the words of Tyler's mom true. Something good must come from this. Something good. And all of us, folks, it's difficult, but it's simple. All of us in this chamber, we need to rise to this moment. We can't turn away. Let's do what we know in our hearts that we need to do. Let's come together to finish the job on police reform. Do something. Do something. That was the plea of parents who lost their children in Uvalde. I met with every one of them. Do something about gun violence. Thank God. Thank God we did. Passing the most sweeping gun safety law in 3 decades. That includes things like that the majority of responsible gun owners already support. Enhanced background checks for 18 to 21 years old. Red flag laws, keeping guns out of the hands of people who are a danger to themselves and others. But we know our work is not done. Joining us tonight is Brandon Say, a 26-year-old hero. Brandon put his college dreams on hold to be at his mom's side. His mom's side when she was dying from cancer. And Brandon now works at the dance studio started by his grandparents. And 2 weeks ago, during the Lunar New Year celebrations, he heard the studio door close, and he saw a man standing there pointing a semi-automatic pistol at him. He thought he was going to die, but he thought about the people inside. And in that instant, he found the courage to act and wrestled a semi-automatic pistol away from the gunman who had already killed 11 people in another dance studio.
That video is insane
11.
of him fighting with
He
the guy.
saved lives. It's time we do the same. Ban assault weapons now. Ban them now. Once and for all. I led the fight to do that in 1994. In 10 years, that ban was law and mass shootings went down. After we let it expire in the Republican administration, mass shootings tripled. Let's finish the job and ban these assault weapons. And let's also come together on immigration. Make it a bipartisan issue once again. We know we now have a record number of personnel working to secure the border, arresting 8,000 human smugglers, seizing over 23,000 pounds of fentanyl in just the last several months. We've launched a new border plan last month. Unlawful migration from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela has come down 97% as a consequence of that. But American border problems won't be fixed until Congress acts. If we don't pass my comprehensive immigration reform, at least pass my plan to provide the equipment and officers to secure the border.
Well, that was a weird segment.
And a pathway to citizenship for dreamers, those on temporary status, farm workers, essential workers. Here in the People's House, it's our duty to protect all the people's rights and freedoms. Congress must restore the right and the...
They're yelling
Congress
the border.
must restore
He just
the right
said
that
border.
was taken away.
He just said
in Roe v.
fund
Wade,
border.
and protect Roe v. Wade. Give every woman a constitutional right. The Vice President and I are doing everything to protect access to reproductive health care and safeguard patient safety. But already more than a dozen states are enforcing extreme abortion bans. Make no mistake about it. If Congress passes a national ban, I will veto it. But let's also pass the Bipartisan Equality Act to ensure LGBTQ Americans, especially transgender young people, can live with safety and dignity.
Boo! They're gonna go boo! The Republicans are gonna boo!
Our strength is not just the example of our power, but the power of our example. Let's remember the world's watching. I spoke in this chamber 1 year ago, just days after Vladimir Putin unleashed his brutal attack against Ukraine. A murderous assault, evoking images of death and destruction Europe suffered in World War II. Putin's invasion has been a test for the ages, a test for America, a test for the world. Would we stand for the most basic of principles? Would we stand for sovereignty? We stand for the right of people to live free of tyranny? Will we stand for the defense of democracy? For such defense matters to us because it keeps peace and prevents open season on would-be aggressors and threatens our prosperity. 1 year later, we know the answer. Yes, we would, and we did. We did. And together, we did what America always does at our best. We led. We united NATO. We built a global coalition. We stood against Putin's aggression. We stood with the Ukrainian people. Tonight, we're once again joined by Ukraine's ambassador to the United States. She represents not just her nation, but the courage of her people. Our ambassador is here, united. We're united in our support of your country. Will you stand so we can all take a look at you? Thank you. Because we're going to stand with you as long as it takes. Our nation is working for more freedom, more dignity, more peace, not just in Europe, but everywhere. Before I came to office, the story was about how the People's Republic of China was increasing its power and America was failing in the world. Not anymore. We made clear, and I made clear in my personal conversations, which have been many, with President Xi, that we seek competition, not conflict. But I will make no apologies that we're investing to make America stronger, investing in American innovation and industries that will define the future that China intends to be dominating, investing in our alliances and working with our allies to protect advanced technologies so they will not be used against us, modernizing our military to safeguard stability and deter aggression. Today, we're in the strongest position in decades to compete with China or anyone else in the world. Anyone else in the world. And I'm committed I'm committed to work with China where we can advance American interests and benefit the world. But make no mistake about it. As we made clear last week, if China threatens our sovereignty, we will act to protect our country, and we did.
Is he talking about the balloon?
Let's be clear. Winning the competition should unite all of us. We face serious challenges across the world.
Don't know why that's happening.
But in the past 2 years...
No Hogwarts, no Hogwarts, no Hogwarts. Ah, Hogwarts!
The world leader who changed places with Xi Jinping. Name me one. Name me one.
Well, what
America's rallying the world to meet those challenges, from climate to global health, to food insecurity, to terrorism, to territorial aggression. Allies are stepping up, spending more, and doing more. Look, the bridges we're forming between partners in the Pacific and those in the Atlantic, and those who bet against America are learning how wrong they are. It's never, ever been a good bet to bet against America. Never.
USA chant? What is this? The WWE?
When I came to office, most assured that bipartisanship assumed was impossible, but never believed it. That's why a year ago I offered a unity agenda to the nation as I stood here. We made real progress together. We passed a law making it easy for doctors to prescribe effective treatments for opioid addiction. We passed the gun safety law, making historic investments in mental health. We launched the ARPA-H drive for breakthrough in the fights against cancer, Alzheimer's, and diabetes, and so much more. We passed the Heath Robinson PACT Act, named after the late Iraq War veteran whose story about exposure to toxic burn kits I shared here last year. I understand something about those burn pits, but there's so much more to do. We can do it together. Joining us tonight is a father named Doug from Newton, New Hampshire. He wrote Jill, my wife, a letter, and me as well, about his courageous daughter, Courtney. A contagious laugh, his sister's best friend, her sister's best friend. He shared a story all too familiar to millions of Americans and many of you in the audience. Courtney discovered pills in high school. It spiraled into addiction and eventually death from a fentanyl overdose. She was just 20 years old. Describing the last 8 years without her, Doug said, "There's no worse pain." Yet their family has turned pain to purpose, working to end the stigma and change laws. He told us he wants to start a journey toward American recovery. Doug, we're with you. Fentanyl is killing more than 70,000 Americans a year.
The border.
You got
Obsessed. Obsessed.
So let's launch a major surge to stop fentanyl production and the sale and trafficking, with more drug detection machines, inspection cargo, stop pills and powder at the border. Working with couriers like FedEx to inspect more packages for drugs. Strong penalties to crack down on fentanyl trafficking. Second, let's do more on mental health, especially for our children. When millions of young people are struggling with bullying, violence, trauma, we owe them greater access to mental health care at their schools. We must finally hold social media companies accountable for experimenting they're doing running children for profit. It's time to pass bipartisan legislation to stop big tech from collecting personal data on our kids and teenagers online, ban targeted advertising to children, and impose stricter limits on the personal data that companies collect on all of us. Third, let's do more to keep this nation's one truly sacred obligation to equip those we send into harm's way and care for them and their families when they come home. job training, job placement for veterans and their spouses as they come to return to civilian life, helping veterans afford the rent, because no one should be homeless in America, especially someone who served the country. Dennis McDonough is here, of the VA. We had a first real discussion when I asked him to take the job. I'm glad he did. We were losing up to 25 veterans a day on suicide. Now we're losing 17 a day to the silent scourge of suicide. 17 veterans a day are committing suicide. More than all the people being killed in the wars. Folks, VA is doing everything it can, including expanding mental health screening, proven programs that recruits veterans to help other veterans understand what they're going through, get them the help they need. We got to do more. And fourth, last year, Jill and I reignited the cancer moonshot that I was able to start with President Obama asked me to lead our administration on this issue. Our goal is to cut the cancer death rates at least by 50% in the next 25 years. Turn more cancers from death sentences to treatable diseases. Provide more support for patients and their families. It's personal to so many of us in this audience. Joining us are Morris and Candice, an Irishman and the daughter of immigrants from Panama. They met and fell in love in New York City and got married in the same chapel Jill and I got married in New York City. Kindred spirits. He wrote us a letter about his little daughter, Ava, and I saw her just before I came over. She was just a year old when she was diagnosed with rare kidney disease, cancer. After 26 blood transfusions, 11 rounds of radiation, 8 rounds of chemo, 1 kidney removed, giving a 5% survival rate. He wrote how in the darkest moments he thought, if she goes, I can't stay. Many of you have been through that as well. Jill and I understand that like so many of you. And he read Jill's book describing our family's cancer journey and how we tried to steal moments of joy where we could with Bo. For them, that glimmer of joy was the half smile of their baby girl. It meant everything to them. They never gave up hope. Little Ava never gave up hope. She turns 4 next month. They just found out Ava's beating the odds, is on her way to being cured of cancer. And she's watching from the White House tonight if she's not asleep already. For the lives we can save. For the lives we can save and the lives we've lost, let this be a truly American moment that rallies the country and the world together and proves that we can still do big things. 20 years ago, under the leadership of President Bush and countless advocates and champions, he undertook a bipartisan effort through PEPFAR to transform the global fight against HIV/AIDS. It's been a huge success. He thought big. He thought large. He moved. I believe we can do the same thing with cancer. Let's end cancer as we know it.
Is someone holding their cane up in
Cure
the air?
some
Is that
cancers
Bono?
Once and for all.
That is Bono.
Folks, there's one reason why we've been able to do all of these things. Our democracy itself. It's the most fundamental thing of all. With democracy, everything's possible. Without it, nothing is. For the last few years, our democracy has been threatened and attacked, put at risk, put to the test in this very room on January the 6th. And then just a few months ago,
I love when Democrats
an
bring it up
unhinged
over Republicans.
big lie, assailed and unleashed a political violence, the home of the then Speaker of the House of Representatives, using the very same language the insurrectionists used as they stalked these halls and chanted on January 6th. Here tonight in this chamber is a man who bears the scars of that brutal attack, but is as tough and as strong and as resilient as they get. my friend Paul Pelosi. Paul, stand up.
I gotta say, I thought that was Jerry Orbach from Law and Order. Back from the dead.
Such a heinous act.
He's got some strong
We must all speak out.
film
There's no
noir
place for
detective
political violence
vibes
in
going on
America.
tonight.
We have to protect the right to vote, not suppress the fundamental right. Honor the results of our elections, not subvert the will of the people. We have to uphold the rule of law and restore trust in our institutions of democracy. And we must give hate and extremism in any form no safe harbor. Democracy must not be a partisan issue. It's an American issue. Every generation of Americans has faced a moment where they have been called to protect our democracy, defend it, stand up for it. And this is our moment. My fellow Americans, we meet tonight at an inflection point, one of those moments that only a few generations ever face, where the direction we now take is going to decide the course of this nation for decades to come. We're not bystanders of history. We're not powerless before the forces that confront us. It's within our power of we, the people. We're facing the test of our time. We have to be the nation we've always been at our best, optimistic, hopeful, forward-looking. A nation that embraces light over dark, hope over fear, unity over division, stability over chaos. We have to see each other not as enemies, but as fellow Americans. We're good people. The only nation in the world built on an idea. The only one.
Wait, what?
Other nations are defined by geography, ethnicity. But we're the only nation based on an idea that all of us, every one of us, is created equal in the image of God. A nation that stands as a beacon of the world. A nation in a new age of possibilities. So I've come to fulfill my constitutional obligation to report in the State of the Union. And here's my report. Because the soul of this nation is strong, because the backbone of this nation is strong, because the people of this nation are strong, the State of the Union is strong.
There we have it. There we have spoiler alert. Oh, excuse me. Spoiler alert, everybody. I will say, I was quiet for large portions of this speech because aside from the very beginning, with the usual sort of like
this place.
political
tonight,
marketing
having served as long as about any one of you have ever served here.
This was a really good speech, honestly.
But I've never been more optimistic about our future, about the future of America.
And then this part here.
Just to remember who we are.
Back to the
We're
back
the
to the marketing.
United States of America. And there's nothing beyond our capacity if we do it together. God bless you all, and may God protect our troops. Thank you.
What was that, about an hour, 10 minutes he went? By the time he got down there and spoke, what was it, about an hour, 10 minutes he spoke for? Pretty long speech. Not the longest, but I think this one might be up there. I think he hit all the notes that you could expect from a Joe Biden presidency and beyond, honestly. I loved the straight up calling out of the Republicans for their stopping of a lot of his agenda, which is good in terms of the child tax credit. That's what I always go to because I benefited from that as I'm a parent of two, but also study after study after study detailing how much it helped everybody who it affected. and how it basically, for the time it was there, eradicated child poverty. I need to lower this video volume. All right. The infrastructure stuff. I really do think that the junk fees bill, I think that is, oh, did my headphones just die? Give me a second. Let me deal with my headphone issue. 1 second. I gotta plug these in. Okay, that should work on my end. 1 second. Let me keep the video playing. But I'll put the volume down just so I can follow where they're at for the Republican response. Excuse me. But listen, I think he hit so many of the notes he had to hit. He touched upon many issues that I think connect with the broader American public. Even some Republican, he brought up the border, but that's something that I think even, all Democratic presidents end up touching upon. It's in really no gain from themselves, because you recall that moment where he literally brings up funding the border patrol, and then Republicans moments later, like not even like a minute later, are interrupting him, going, the border. I mean, listen, I think if you were expecting Joe Biden to not be Joe Biden, you're going to be disappointed by what he focused on and what he had to say. If you were expecting him to be Joe Biden, then you got that. And I think you got even more in terms of if you're a progressive or someone on the left. I feel like we've seen this throughout his presidency so far. This same character, this same person. Could have done without the constant reminders from him that he's a capitalist. Because they're just going to yell, like I'm pretty sure a few of them did. Socialist! It's kind of pointless to bring that up. But listen. Wait, hold on. What? All right, basically what we're going to see for the next 2 years, at the very least, is, not much. Not much. It's going to be a lot of this. And I hope Joe Biden takes advantage of it, because the Republicans control the House now, so nothing's going to pass in terms of what Joe Biden mentioned. But he needs to use that bully pulpit. He needs to constantly be that Joe Biden we saw when he was going at it with Republicans from right there up when he was making a speech. You had Republicans booing policies that are pretty broadly supported by most Americans. You had been booing the idea of not paying more than $35 for insulin in 2 years, not even right away. You had them booing that the drug companies, the pharmaceutical companies, weren't going to be able to price gouge people on life-saving medication. Like, that was a moment. That was, clip that bad boy and play that on loop. Clip that and play that on loop. from the standpoint of a State of the Union, I think Joe Biden did very well. If you're looking for to watch a State of the Union and get surprised, it's going to be strictly on performance. And I think Joe Biden surprised me a little bit with how he was openly needling Republicans when they tried to shut him down. I mean, he did a really good job controlling that. I mean, that was a fairly good speech from the perspective of even like the policy notes he focused on. And I will say he is very good at those individual human stories with the people in the audience. He's got a knack for that, as you saw whenever he campaigned. Tom says, think he should have talked student loans. Well, I mean, I don't know what he can say at this point. I mean, they're still going ahead with processing student loan forgiveness for people who applied. It's just caught up, I believe, in appeals right now. Last I checked, if I remember correctly. Oh yeah, it's going to the Supreme Court, right? So I mean, I don't know what he could say there, you know? Probably best he doesn't mention it, honestly. With the Supreme Court justices right there sitting before him. Tom says ITT loan forgiveness has gone through. I had mine forgiven. Oh, that was something separate. That was people who were misled by those for-profit schools. Like people who were defrauded by those for-profit schools. Where is this? Where is this Republican? Let's get to it. Where is it? Did it start yet? I mean, oh, let's not forget, too. I mean, the tax proposals were pretty incredible, right? This is Joe Biden up there talking about a 20% billionaire tax. And then, what was he? Tripling? Doubling? Quadrupling? The for stock buybacks? Tax on stock buybacks? I mean... come on. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm listening to what they're saying. My bad.
I'm praying for it because it's not.
I had the volume down still.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your words. They speak exactly to my constituents in my district.
Basically, they're saying it was a great speech. I mean, obviously, but they.
8th district of Colorado, goes northeast suburbs of Denver, and goes into Greeley, which is a rural community.
I'm just
Big
getting.
bag.
I'm getting this selfie, please. Then I get it.
There you go.
Oh, I'm bid the You're embarrassed.
He's trying to make me feel good. She erased it.
Wait, what's this? Let me pull this tweet up because it's very funny. CNN's, who is this? Melanie Zanona reports Utah Republican Senator Mitt Romney, who spoke to freshman Congressman George Santos as he entered the House chamber for tonight's State of the Union, told the embattled GOP rep, "You don't belong here," per a member who witnessed the exchange. Oh, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. And apparently, according to another tweet, looks like it was Romney who said something to Santos, who was caught on camera saying, "What an asshole," after he walked by. That's pretty good. You don't belong here. Damn!
The freshmen are waiting on you. Oh yeah, we're so excited. You got us fired up.
That's right.
It was fantastic. I'm doing great. We'd love for you to be That's right. We need you in West Michigan, Grand Rapids. We need you to come. Did you take my phone the other day?
I'll do a number of times. I'll come back.
Mr. President, we need you to come to Hawaii. Sure. You may have to come to Hawaii.
Flip to do this like
This is my 5-month-old son, Hodge.
God, I love you.
He's I brought him to the
man.
speaker's vote. Yeah, he's a cute little.
He sure in hell is. You're a lucky man.
I know. Hold on, let's see. So that's
Oh,
the
you
one.
got the photo. Good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, there we go.
All right.
Thank you for Columbus, Ohio. That means the world.
Mr. Nugget. And I got invitation for Costanza, please come to Hawaii. Can I take a? We need to share some.
Crazy
I want to
years.
see if you'll come visit her in
For 8
Hawaii.
years, every time I sat down with Barack, he'd start every morning I met with him. And he'd start off every conversation. You know what the temperature is in Hawaii right now? 79. He'd say 79.
And for my boys.
Hey guys, how you doing? Take care of mom and be patient with dad, okay?
Mr. President, thank you again.
Jimmy,
Thank you, sir.
I'm holding up the staff. I'm going to get in real trouble.
Get out of here.
Yep, of course.
People are getting angry. They feel like they're being used.
So true. So anything I can do to help support that effort, I will.
Yes, sir.
Anything I can do.
Get a number.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Oh, come on, man.
That's
My son,
I know you're talking about
who died because of it.
Thank you.
Good to see you, man. Yeah.
Jimmy Fanatic, good to see you.
Jimmy. And tell Dad to take it easy on you, will you?
Well, he got your message, by the way.
Oh, did he? Good.
No, and I'll let him know to take it easy on you.
Mr. President, we're ready to help you finish the job.
We're ready to try to finish it. Good to see you, pal.
Thank you so much.
We're great to see you. Thank you. Nice to see you.
I stayed out of respect. You know, it's the anniversary stuff.
It's Bo's birthday 2 days ago.
I know, that's how we always, they're up there watching.
Yep. I believe it. Hey, man.
Hey, Mr. President, Morgan McGarty, a Democrat from Kentucky.
Kentucky, how's that, boy?
Good to see you. It's
Good to see you.
My good one.
My 4-year-old asked me to ask you this, if she can come to Easter.
Sure she can come.
Okay, there we go.
With or without you. We'll take care of it.
I'll tell her that she got the invite.
Grace.
I do, pal. Thanks. We got a lot of work to do. But we can do this. By the way, 85% of the town is already been passed. We just got to get it done now. And let people know. They don't know.
That's right. I talk all the time.
They really do.
Where is this? Oh, I'm sorry. Where is the? I'm sorry. I thought the volume was
By
higher.
the way.
Let's continue watching this because I'm just trying to look up some things for
Thanks for your time tonight. And
for something I wanted to talk about right after the Republican. I'm just waiting for the Republican speech right now. I'm sorry. I'm one person here.
I don't either. I've been out this whole time.
Yeah, appreciate it. So, we need Bureau of
The
Reclamation.
two houses now resolved.
All right.
Okay, thanks.
The House will come to order. For what purpose does the gentleman from Louisiana seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, I move that the message of the President be referred to the Committee of the Whole House on the State of the Union.
And it took President Biden 20 minutes to get from the podium out the door of the House as he greeted members and got lobbied on legislation and et cetera. Well, in about 5 minutes, the response from the Republicans, Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders, will be delivered
Here
from
we go.
Little Rock. That begins in about 5 minutes. Now, the president has a full schedule this week. He will be traveling and talking about some of the issues in depth that he mentioned tonight. He's got an economic speech in Madison, Wisconsin tomorrow. He'll be talking about Medicare in Tampa, and then back on to Washington on Friday for the National Governors Association and a meeting with the re-elected president of Brazil, Lula da Silva. Now, after Sarah Huckabee Sanders, we're going to be taking your phone calls, and we want to hear your voices, your response to what the president had to say and what Governor Sanders had to say. 202 is the area code. 748-8921 for Republicans, 748-8920 for Democrats, and 748-8922 for Independents. Now, of course, you can send a text message as well if you want to, if you can't get through on the phones. 202-748-8903 is that number. Just remember to include your first name and your city if you would. Let's see what Greta Brawner has found in reaction to the speech.
CBS reporter Ed O'Keefe tweeting out this about the speech: the most ruckus, rancorous reception for a president at his State of the Union address I can recall. And I cannot recall seeing a speaker try to shush members of his or her caucus before, like Speaker McCarthy tried tonight. One of the most ruckus moments came tonight at this point during his speech.
Instead of making the wealthy pay their fair share, some Republicans want Medicare and Social Security to sunset. I'm not saying it's a majority. Let me give you, anybody who doubts it, contact my office. I'll give you a copy. I'll give you a copy of the proposal. That means Congress doesn't vote. Well, I'm glad to see you. No, I tell you, I enjoy conversion. You know,
it's a conversation, right?
If Congress
what is
doesn't keep the
conversion?
programs the way they are, they'd go away. Other Republicans say, I'm not saying it's a majority of you. I don't even think it's even a significant, but it's being proposed by individuals. I'm not politely not naming them, but it's being proposed by some of you. Look, folks, the idea is that we're not going to be moved into being threatened to default on the debt if we don't respond. Folks.
From President Biden's address, one of the most ruckus moments, as Ed O'Keefe notes. Ahead of tonight's speech, there was this poll put out by the Washington Post that found on this question of the debt ceiling and whether or not there should be spending cuts included, 65% of U.S. adults polled said the debt payment and federal spending should be handled separately by the president and Congress. We'll bring more reaction from the State of the Union address later after we hear from the Republican
Let's get to it already.
Sarah Huckabee Sanders, Peter.
And Sarah Huckabee Sanders was just elected this past November. She took office on January 10th, and she won by 28 points. And of course, she served as President Trump's press secretary for a couple of years. Her father was governor of Arkansas from 1998 to 1996 to 2007. And Governor Sanders met her husband Brian on her father's 2008 presidential campaign, and they have 3 children. After the governor speaks, we will be going to your phone calls and your reaction on social media, either via text message or on our social media platforms. Just remember, you can also listen to everything that you're hearing tonight on C-SPAN on our C-SPAN Now app. It's free, and it's available at all locations where you download your apps. That is a governor's mansion in Little Rock, where Sarah Huckabee Sanders will be speaking from in just a minute. Here she is.
4, 3.
Good evening. I'm Sarah Huckabee Sanders. Being a mom to 3 young children taught me not to believe every story I hear. So forgive me for not believing much of anything I heard tonight from President Biden.
Terrible opening.
Control inflation and violent
Terrible
crime,
opening.
to the dangerous border crisis and threat from China. Biden and the Democrats
Also,
have failed.
sound issue. There's some weird feedback.
They know it, and you know it. And it's time for a change. Tonight, let us reaffirm our commitment to a timeless American idea that government exists not to rule the people, but to serve the people. Democrats want to rule us with more government control, but that's not who we are. America is the greatest country the world has ever known because we're the freest country the world has ever known, with a people who are strong and resilient. 5 months ago, I was diagnosed with thyroid cancer. It was a hard time for our family, particularly our kids, Scarlett, Huck, and George. But we kept our faith and persevered. Thanks to exceptional doctors here in Arkansas, a successful surgery, and the grace of God, I am cancer-free. Through it all, couldn't help but think about my mom. She was 20 years old and in her first year of marriage when she was diagnosed with spinal cancer. The doctors told her she might not live, and if she did live, they said she'd never walk again. And if she did walk, she'd definitely never have children. The daughter she was told she'd never have was just sworn in as the new governor of Arkansas and is speaking to you tonight. Adversity and fear of the unknown can paralyze us, but faith propels us to charge boldly ahead. We can't stand still in the face of great challenges. You and I were put on this earth for such a time as this, to charge boldly ahead. I'll be the first to admit, President Biden and I don't have a lot in common. I'm for freedom, he's for government control.
What does that even mean? You're the governor! You're the governor of a state!
At 80, he's the oldest president in American history. I'm the first woman to lead my state, and he's the first man to surrender his presidency to a woke mob that can't even tell you what a woman is. In the radical left's America, Washington taxes you and lights your hard-earned money on fire. But you get crushed with high gas prices, empty grocery shelves, and our children are taught to hate one another on account of their race, but not to love one another or our great country. Whether Joe Biden believes this madness or is simply too weak to resist it, his administration has been completely hijacked by the radical left. The dividing line in America is no longer between right or left. The choice is between normal or crazy. It's time for a new generation of Republican leadership. Upon taking office just a few weeks ago, I signed executive orders to ban CRT, racism, and indoctrination in our schools.
I can't get over that
Eliminate
line.
the use of derogatory term Latinx in our government, repealed COVID orders, and said never again to authoritarian mandates and shutdowns. Americans want common sense from their leaders, but in Washington, the Biden administration is doubling down on crazy. President Biden inherited the fastest economic recovery on record, the most secure border in history, cheap, abundant, homegrown energy, fast rising wages, a rebuilt military, and a world that was stable and at peace. But over the last 2 years, Democrats destroyed it all. Despite Democrats' trillions in reckless spending and mountains of debt, we now have the worst border crisis in American history. As a mom, my heart breaks for every parent who has lost a son or daughter to addiction. 100,000 Americans a year are now killed from drug overdoses, largely from fentanyl pouring across our southern border. Yet the Biden administration refuses to secure the border and save American lives. And after years of Democrat attacks on law enforcement and calls to defund the police, violent criminals roam free, while law-abiding families live in fear. Beyond our border, from Afghanistan to Ukraine, from North Korea to Iran, President Biden's weakness puts our nation and the world at risk. And the president's refusal to stand up to China, our most formidable adversary, is dangerous and unacceptable. President Biden is unwilling to defend our border, defend our skies, and defend our people. He is simply unfit to serve as commander-in-chief. And while you reap the consequences of their failures, the Biden administration seems more interested in woke fantasies than the hard reality Americans face every day.
What is she talking about?
Most Americans simply want to live their lives in freedom and peace. But we are under attack in a left-wing culture war we didn't start and never wanted to fight. Every day we are told we must partake in their rituals, salute their flags, and worship their false idols. all while big government colludes with big tech to strip away the most American thing there is, your freedom of speech. That's
What are you
not normal.
talking about?
It's crazy, and it's wrong. Make no mistake, Republicans will not surrender this fight. We will lead with courage and do what's right, not what's politically correct or convenient. Republicans believe in an America where strong families thrive in safe communities, where jobs are abundant and paychecks are rising, where the freedom our veterans shed their blood to defend is the birthright of every man, woman, and child. These are the principles Republican governors are fighting for, and in Washington, under the leadership of Senate Republicans and Speaker Kevin McCarthy, we will hold the Biden administration accountable. Down the street from where I sit is my alma mater, Little Rock Central High. As a student there, I will never forget watching my dad, Governor Mike Huckabee, and President Bill Clinton hold the doors open to the Little Rock Nine. Doors that 40 years earlier had been closed to them because they were Black. Today, those children once barred from the schoolhouse are now heroes memorialized in bronze at our State House. I'm proud of the progress our country has made, and I believe giving every child access to a quality education, regardless of their race or income, is the civil rights issue of our day. Tomorrow, I will unveil an education package that will be the most far-reaching, bold, conservative education reform in the country. My plan empowers parents with real choices, improves literacy and career readiness, and helps put a good teacher in every classroom by increasing their starting salary from one of the lowest to one of the highest in the nation. Here in Arkansas and across America, Republicans are working to end the policy of trapping kids in failing schools and sentencing them to a lifetime of poverty. We will educate, not indoctrinate our kids, and put students on a path to success. God. It's time for a new generation to lead. This is our moment.
Froze.
This is our opportunity. A new generation born in the waning decades of
I gotta
the last
refresh. Sorry.
century.
Really quick. No Hogwarts Ed. No Hogwarts Ed.
What do
no
you
Hogwarts
want?
Ed. Yes, no Hogwarts Ed.
What a job that I don't hate.
A generation brimming with passion.
Wow, we missed
and
not a
new
single
ideas to
thing
solve
apparently in
age-old
that,
problems.
that period of time.
A generation
She apparently
born to our
said nothing.
deepest values and oldest traditions.
We caught her back exactly
Yet
where she
unafraid
was.
to challenge the present order and find a better way forward. If we seize this moment together, America can once again be the land of the free and the home of the brave. During my 2.5 years at the White House, I traveled on every foreign trip with the president. A trip I will never forget was on December 25th of 2018. My husband Brian and I had just cleaned up wrapping paper that was shoved into every corner of our house, thanks to our 3 kids. When I had to walk out on my own family's Christmas, unable to tell them where I was going that night, because the place I'd be traveling was so dangerous, they didn't want anybody to know that the president was going to be on the ground, even for a few hours. We boarded Air Force One in complete and total darkness. There were no lights on the plane, no lights on the runway. Our phones and computers shut down and turned in. We were going completely off the grid. Nearly 12 hours later, in the pitch black of night, we landed in the war-torn part of Western Iraq. It was again a similar scene. No lights on the plane, no lights on the runway. The only thing you could see was coming from about a mile away. In a dining hall were hundreds of troops who were in the fight against ISIS, had gathered expecting to celebrate Christmas with senior military leadership from around the region. They had absolutely no idea that the President and First Lady were about to walk into that room. And when they did, it was a sight and a scene and a sound I hope I never forget. The room erupted. Men and women from every race, religion, and region, every political party, every demographic you can imagine, started chanting in perfect unison over and over and over again, USA, USA, USA. It was an absolutely perfect picture of what makes our country great. One of the young soldiers yelled from the back, "Mr. President, I re-enlisted in the military because of you." And the president said, "And son, I'm here because of you." Shortly after, that young soldier came up to me. He said, "Sarah, you have a tough job." I told him, "What I do is nothing. You take bombs and bullets. That's a tough job." And in a moment that I know I'll cherish for the rest of my life, that soldier reached up and he pulled the brave rifle's patch
how
he
is
wore on
this
his shoulder.
the response?
And he placed it into my hand.
This is just like
a sign of ultimate respect.
audible.
And he said,
Sarah Huckabee Sanders'
we are in this together.
Autobiography.
Overwhelmed with emotion and speechless, I just hugged him with tears in my eyes and a grateful heart for our heroes who keep us free. That young man and everyone who has served before him, all of those who serve alongside him, and the thousands we know who will be called upon to serve after him, deserve to know they have a country and a community back home doing our part in the fight for freedom. America is great because we are free. But today, our freedom is under attack, and the America we love is in danger. President Biden and the Democrats have failed you, and it's time for a change. A new generation of Republican leaders are stepping up, not to be caretakers of the status quo, but to be change makers for the American people. We know not what the future holds, but we know who holds the future in his hands. And with God as our witness, we will show the world that America is still the place where freedom reigns and liberty will never die. Thank you. God bless you. And God bless
This was
America.
really bad. This might have been worse
And
than like
Sarah Huckabee Sanders, a new governor of Arkansas.
This honestly might be one of the worst Republican State of the Union responses I've ever seen. Say what you will about the Michelle Bachmann ones. I'm just thinking about the ones that have stuck with me. The Marco Rubio one where he drank the water. They at least stuck throughout the whole speech. They hit their talking points and stuck to the broad Republican message for what she mentioned them, yeah, but the vast majority of it was this weird storytelling that nobody cares about. Very weird. Very weird. Hold on, I want to find the come on, someone has to have that line. I gotta watch it again. I really do. It was so freaking hilarious. Come on. Hold on. Some people have some. Let's see if some of these are it. Let's see what this is. I don't think this is it, but let's see what Owen over here grabbed. Owen Higgins.
We are under attack in a left-wing culture war we didn't start and never wanted to fight. Every day we are told we must partake in their rituals, salute their flags, and worship their false idols. all while big government colludes with big tech to strip away the most American.
Why did it freeze?
Government colludes with big tech.
I think it's just the video
strip
itself.
Away the most American thing there is, your freedom of speech. We are under attack in a left.
What is she talking about? Hold on, this user usually has all the good clips. Asen over on Twitter. Let's see. Come on, give me that. No, he didn't grab it. Come on, someone has to have that line. I really want to. Sarah Huckabee Sanders search. Oh, Sarah Huckabee Snaders. That would not be her name. Oh wait, was that it from Aaron Rupard? Let's see.
4, 3.
Good evening. I'm Sarah Huckabee Sanders. Being a mom to 3 young children taught me not to believe every story I hear. So forgive me for not believing much of anything I heard tonight.
Okay, I think we can go through him. I think he's got all the clips here. Does it? Yeah, he has a bunch of clips. All right, I wanted to listen to it, but it's good to. I think it's better to actually go through the clips now that I have. Okay, this is okay. Let's do this. All right, so let's do this.
4, 3.
First of all, I didn't catch that they went live with the director counting her down. But let's go, producer.
Good evening. I'm Sarah Huckabee Sanders. Being a mom to 3 young children taught me not to believe every story I hear. So forgive me for not believing much of anything I heard tonight from President Biden.
That is such a weak opening. I'm sorry. It's so bad. It's so bad because clearly she did not prepare to respond to anything in particular. But that's what this is, right? I mean, the White House puts out what Biden's response is, what his State of the Union address is going to be. They have the opportunity to actually respond to certain points, like obviously not the organic stuff that comes out of the speech that he just riffs on, but they can respond to the talking points. And this is just so clearly just laziness. And it's so bad. It's so bad. It's so dumb. It's so stupid.
From out of control inflation and violent crime to the dangerous border crisis and threat from China, Biden and the Democrats have failed you. They know it, and you know it. And it's time for a change.
All right, let's see if this is the one I'm looking for.
I'm the first woman to
yes!
lead my state. I'm the first woman to lead my state.
Hold on. I gotta put the volume up.
I'm the first woman to lead my state. And he's the first man to surrender his presidency to a woke mob that can't even tell you what a woman is. I'm the first woman to lead my state. And he's the first.
Bad. I can't believe how bad that is. I'm the first woman to lead my state, and he's the first man to surrender to a woke mob. Oh my God. Oh my God. Can't get over that one. And we got another woke mention from her. Let's see what this one is.
And while you reap the consequences of their failures, the Biden administration seems more interested in woke fantasies than the hard reality Americans face every day. Most Americans simply want to live their lives in freedom and peace. But we are under attack in a left-wing culture war we didn't start and never wanted to fight. Every day we are told we must partake in their rituals, salute their flags, and worship their false idols.
What is she talking about? This is so telling of the Republican psyche. This is how they think. This is why they're like on the front lines of Twitter, tweeting as if they're in some great big war or something. The meme war. They take this so seriously because they believe this garbage. They believe this shit. I don't know anybody on the left who takes any of this anywhere near as seriously as they do. I mean, this is just bonkers. What is this? What flags are you meant to? What are you talking about? Oh, you mean because like some classrooms have the pride flag in them? Is that what you're talking about? Like, I don't understand what are you talking about? What false idols? Who's worshiping what? What do you mean? What do you mean?
In woke fantasies than the hard reality Americans face every day. Most Americans simply want to live their lives in freedom and peace. But we are under attack in a left-wing culture war we didn't start and never wanted to fight.
What are you talking about? The culture war is your thing. That's your guy's thing. You fucking love it. You like live and breathe on it. Every one of your media outlets, that's all you guys write about day in, day out. Boring ass culture war bullshit. It's literally all you guys talk about. It's what fuels the entire right-wing machine. Your star Republican 2024 candidate, Ron DeSantis, is literally out there doing culture war as governor of an entire state, one of the biggest states in the country. Just culture war issue after culture war issue. It literally fuels his everyday life. It's all he does, seemingly. It's all you guys do.
Every day we are told we must partake in their rituals, salute their flags, and worship their false idols. All while big government colludes with big tech to strip away. Every day we are told we must partake in their rituals.
What rituals?
Salute their flags.
What salute? Salute what flag? Last I checked, kids basically are still all doing the Pledge of Allegiance to the United States of America, to the American flag.
And worship their false idols. All told we must partake in their rituals.
What rituals? What do you mean? Oh wait, are you talking about like when like a non-binary or a trans person simply requests that you use their preferred pronoun? Is that the ritual you're talking about? I mean, that's gotta be it, right? I mean, what else? What do you mean? What do you mean? And no one's gotta partake in that. Like, what are you talking? What happens if you misgender a trans person? Are you taken away? What happens to you? Nothing. Nothing. What is wrong with you people?
Salute their flags and worship their false idols.
What false idol? What are you talking? I that one I can't figure out. What false idol? I mean, last I checked, the Democratic Party is not putting Karl Marx on a pedestal or anything like that. So who are you talking about? Are you talking about the people on Twitter who post the photo of Mao in the replies when someone's complaining about their tenants on Twitter? Is that what you're talking about? I mean, who are you talking about? Are you talking about Hassan over on Twitch? Talking about Sam Cedar, the Majority Report? Who are you talking about?
Every day we are told we must partake in their rituals,
I can't get over
salute
this.
their flags, and worship their false idols. all while big government colludes with big tech to strip away the most American thing there is, your freedom of speech.
Who is doing that? What are you talking about? I mean, this is fantastic. All right, let's open the phones so we could talk. You could Skype into the show, Doomed Live. I didn't realize this was going to take 2 hours already. So I'll take like 1, 2, maybe 3 calls, depending on how long they are. This is not going to be a podcast episode. I have some live streams that I didn't get up yet that I'll put up as a podcast. This is not meant as a podcast episode. Maybe I'll cut this little Sarah Huckabee section, though, so it's not caught all the way in the back here of this live stream feed. But yeah, let's... phone lines are open. Call Doomed Live on Skype, and I will take a few calls. There will be an episode of Scam Economy, by the way. Tomorrow, most likely. It seems like it's scheduled. It's going to be all's looking good for tomorrow. Hey, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Matt, it's Josh from California. Can you hear me?
Hey, Josh. Whoa, there was a ton of static, and then all of a sudden it
I cannot hear you.
You can't hear me. 1 second. It's on my end. 1 second. I know what I got to do. 1 second. If you're watching.
Yeah.
1 second.
I can see your face moving. I can't hear you.
All right, I got you. I know you can hear me now.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. I don't know why Skype always takes the wrong audio input the first time for the first caller that I pick up, but it's fixed now. Hey, Josh, what did you talk about?
So I think she was talking about how we all sing songs of worship to Dark Brandon and sacrifice the goats in the classroom.
Oh, yeah, that. I forgot all about that.
Yeah, and
what's the character in the goat character in The Witch, the Witch? Black Phillip. Black Phillip. Yes, we all praise Black Phillip. And there's this. I shouldn't play it in case YouTube. I was gonna play a scene from that movie. Yes, we all. I for one hail Satan. I can't even joke about that because honestly, as someone who grew up in the punk scene, never really got into the whole goth metal hail Satan type thing. Not really my thing.
I remember your debates with Jamie.
Yeah, not really my thing. Because hail Satan, by default, concedes that there is these greater powers, which I just don't think there are.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, and there's absolutely no way that they flew into a hangar, landed on a base, and the troops were chanting USA at them. There's no fucking way, especially after he said all that shit about Gold Star families. No, I was in. Nobody I knew talked to was in any way like, even conservatives that I knew were like, fuck this guy. We'll vote Republican because we hate the left or whatever, but like, fuck this guy personally. Like, that's one of those things that you're just not gonna see. But it's absolutely, that response was one of the most insane, unhinged things that I've ever heard.
I honestly miss the days of Michelle Bachmann. because at least she stuck to her crazy ass ideological points throughout. Where I don't even know what the point of this was. It was very bizarre.
There was a little bit of policy, I'm going to release a education plan. Why don't you get your state above 45th in education before you release plans for the country, sweetie? Like, Jesus Christ.
Right.
And
wait, what was her exact line? What was it? Because I gotta look that up. Because did she say, what did she say again?
She said that she was going to be releasing a comprehensive conservative education plan that essentially would be like a guideline for all school systems across the country or whatever, that would enable parents to have choice in where their kids would go to school, and obviously they're trying to break the public school system. That is the goal, and it has been the goal since at least the 60s. But it's unbelievable what the school voucher stuff, and again they're all tied in with DeVos and with the Kochs and all of it. It's just all kind of, it's not a conspiracy or whatever. It's just they all have the same general goal, and they all give their money towards those goals. So, because a dumb workforce is an easily exploitable workforce. So,
yeah. What'd you think of Biden?
I actually missed most of it. I saw the screaming back and forth, and that was really just, was she wearing like a coat made of gerbils or like?
Oh, Marjorie Taylor Greene. Yeah, I didn't even like have a reaction to that. Like, it's so funny to watch. Like, this was like, she's one of the people who's like one of these right-wing populists, right? And I mean, then she's with Kevin McCarthy, and now she's wearing that. I mean, she couldn't be giving more fodder to like the cliche of like what happens to someone when they become a politician and become one of the chosen like rich wealthy elites. Like, she's totally playing into that like cliche with what she's been doing. It's hilarious. What is her plan?
I don't think she cares. I think her plan is to get her followers to threaten whoever runs against her, like they did with the Democrat last cycle, where his kids were getting death threats, so he withdrew and she ran unopposed. I think that's the plan, is to use intimidation to maintain power, and they don't care. There is no ideology. There's no nothing other than maintaining power and putting yourself in a position to better maintain and hold on to that power. Like, and it's really scary that as stupid as these fucking people are, they still hold 50 or more % of the government in most places. It's really terrifying. But
yeah.
I just wanted to call in because I wanted to bring up Dark Brandon, because I thought that.
Listen, he really, he really delivered tonight, honestly. Again, if you're coming in already critiquing Biden, I honestly think he said some things that would have floored you too if you're coming in from the left. But if you're already critiquing Biden, he gave a great performance, honestly. But he probably wouldn't have, changed your mind on him. But I think he, I don't know. I really thought he did a good job doing what the point of this whole thing is. Again, it's the whole ridiculousness of this whole, these endeavors anyway.
The
pageantry of it. Yes, exactly. That was the word I could not think of. Yeah, I mean, but for what it is, I thought he delivered very, very well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a fan of his, and I think, he's a decent speaker. When he's got his speech impediment or whatever, so
he did not listen. I saw Mike Lee tweet out, who by the way his Twitter name is Based Mike Lee, the sitting U.S. Senator, Based Mike Lee. But he tweeted out he's not well. And honestly, this was one of Biden's strongest performances. And I'm not saying for Biden. I mean there was no stuttering, there was no messing up. I think the one weird thing he said was he meant to say I love conversating or something like that when they were having a conversation. When the Republicans were yelling out to him, and he went to say I love having this conversation. Then he said conversing or something weird that.
He said conversion, and it's possible with
that
he loved that they had all of a sudden between they're talking outside to the press and him starting his speech that they had converted to not taking away Social Security, so it's possible that is what he meant. It's hard to tell with him sometimes, but that's not a big deal, to be honest. Most normal people stumble over the words sometimes when they're speaking, so it's not like it's not like some of the videos that we've seen of him where he really does look like he's completely lost, and that is a little bit concerning, but I didn't see anything like that.
Right.
I just think, he is the problem is of course, none of this shit's he can have his agenda, but he's too much of a coward to do stuff through executive order, and he's never
he did
institutionalist, whatever you want to call him. And
he did go through with the student loan forgiveness, and look what happened, and that's not on him. I don't know what to say. I think we're in territory where, obviously, no doubt about it, you're right, he could be doing more through executive order. But I think we're also in, and he should do it specifically to show this, if this is the case. But, we're in a situation where I think even those will be challenged, and it won't go our way.
Yeah, I'm honestly okay with that. Do it until, ask for forgiveness or whatever, but go out and do it. And then if it takes the courts to define and limit the power of the executive through rulings and obviously they won't hold to those rulings as soon as someone like Trump or DeSantis is in office, which is the problem. But if we ever purge some of this lunacy from power, I do think, and frankly, it's been ever since Lincoln. But the executive has been accumulating more and more power to itself, and the office of the president specifically has accreted an enormous amount of power in a way that's kind of scary. It's not meant to be a dictatorship, and we saw,
right,
last time that's not really codified anywhere. It's just based on the goodwill and good intentions of the people sitting in the office. And even as much of a bastard as Nixon was, even he didn't go as far as Trump did in some ways. And so, he did in others, but so that stuff should be codified, and it should all, that's kind of the point of having an amendable constitution. It's, we ran into this messed up situation. Let's make sure it never happens again and enshrine it in the Constitution so that but we're obviously not gonna get there. But worst comes to worst, he does a bunch of stuff through EO, and the courts say no, and then that's a defined limit for the president. As long as it's good stuff to help people, that's sort of to me is the way to go about it.
Right. Yeah. Thanks for the call as always, Josh.
course, man.
Have a great night.
You too.
All right, go to the next phone call. Oh, I got a few people trying to call in, so let me try to take these because it's getting late. I really didn't think that was going to take this long. Folks, patreon.com/Matt Binder if you could support the show. Lost a lot of patrons over these past month or two. All from people who were saying, they lost their jobs, things of that nature, financial issues, times are getting tough. So if you can, patreon.com/Matt Binder. Beginning of the year, it's rough. I get it. I think we lost like 20 people over the past 2 months, which sucks because, when you have not too many patrons, 20 people is a good chunk. All right, let's go back to the phones. Hey, what's your name? Where are you calling from? Oh my God, Kowalski, look at you. Hold on, let me pull you up on the... Do you hear me first of all?
Who on earth said this was Kowalski?
Oh wait, I don't hear you. What's that? Why don't I hear you?
Oh.
Hello? Wait, keep talking, Kowalski. Oh wait, hello?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
I can. Oh my God, it's on my end. Holy shit, I don't have a... Let me see if...
Wait, I was just messing with my audio stuff.
Hold on,
can you hear it now?
One second. My wired headphones. Do you hear me, Kowalski?
Yeah, I hear you. Can you hear me?
My wired headphones just broke right now. Luckily, my AirPods just charged in time. That very weird, but that's why I didn't hear you. Hey Kowalski, what's up? What did they talk about? Oh, let me put it up on the screen actually, because you're in your hold on, I got the wrong background here. But everyone could see you. You're in your what is this? Your Boogaloo Boy mode, right?
Yes. Because after tonight's speech, we're gonna have a revolution on our hands. So it's time to get behind anarcho-Bidenism. Am I right?
Right.
No, it was honestly, I would say this was probably one of the best State of the Unions I've ever seen. Like, obviously, it's all performative, but I think some good call outs were made. He tackled the heckling well. I don't know what adrenochrome cocktail they've been giving him, but it's working.
He was good tonight. Yeah, they should keep giving him whatever they gave him. Absolutely.
Yeah. I really do think that they should have talked about the Inflation Reduction Act a bit more because of how significant that has been for job numbers lately, because it has just been phenomenal for a lot of climate policies, and really just sending home that is one of the things that has helped keep unemployment down. Should have been up there, and I don't know, maybe attacking the Fed, but other than that, it was really good. And that response from Huckabee Sanders was terrible. That's the future too, because she's young. She's 40. That is the voice of the Republican Party for the next 20, 40 years. I'm a little hopeful at the moment. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think there's a little credence to, be a little optimistic?
Yeah, I do think so. In terms of if she is representing the Republican Party, I don't think that, other than the usual conservative sycophants, not even the regular base is good. That wasn't even meat for them. It was very weird weird speech, honestly.
It was like a member of the establishment that was supposed to make a speech for the base and made a speech for the establishment. It was awful. But that's pretty much all I had to say on that. But I was curious about something that is completely unrelated to the topics of the night. Are you into practical jokes?
Practical jokes. I am.
Okay. So you plan on being on MR on Thursday, correct?
I am.
I have a request.
Okay.
For your background, will you please pick either the Eagles or the Chiefs and just during the opening pretend to be a fan of either of those teams? You
What's
don't
the
seem
prank?
like you
What's the prank here?
because Emma and Bradley's ESPN show, and since Sam won't be there, Emma will be at the helm of the show, and she will be very excited as you're coming in there with all this football energy. The Super Bowl's this weekend, and they're going to want to talk sports, and then you can just be a total letdown to them. It would
they
be
already know that.
hilarious.
They already know that, though. They already know that. They already know I know nothing about sports.
It's still worth the try. I mean, come on. It would be fun.
I don't know.
Just,
I don't think it's gonna. I don't think it's
look
gonna
up
deliver.
a few, just, get the Chiefs logo behind you and just be like, I've been a big Mahomes fan for the last 5 years. He's redefined the quarterback position. I'm all in. Just, lead with that. They're going to be so hyped, and you just be like, no, I'm just kidding. I don't care. Let's talk about wrestling.
I'll think about it. I just don't think it's gonna land.
You see, look, I'm the idea guy. You're the showman. You're the one who's been watching WWE your entire adult life.
That's true.
You're gonna perform this, so.
Oh, I know how to perform. I'm just saying it's not gonna. They know me too well. Like there's no going back and changing that.
I suppose, but I think it would be worth the effort. I think you can stick the landing. I'm just saying.
All right, I'll consider it.
That just seems like a no. I'm not gonna lie.
I don't think it's gonna happen, but I'll consider it.
Oh, positive news I want to leave you on, though, which does go back to the whole Biden policy things. Somebody had mentioned a few weeks ago about talking about some of the fertilizer stuff. There is good news on that front. The USDA has been pumping a lot of money into a lot of fertilizer production facilities across the U.S. to try to bump them up as much as possible. They're likely going to increase output this year as a result of these investments. Not as much as before the war in Ukraine, but it'll probably be enough to take the edge off of things. So I doubt we'll see any catastrophic shortages this year just because of these investments, but it's something to keep an eye on. But for the most part, it is a good forward-thinking policy, and I cannot believe the USDA is actually doing a decent job on this. It's pretty hard to expand fertilizer capacity broadly, especially in this short of a time frame. So, there's reasons to be optimistic there.
Yeah.
And that's all the good news.
Sounds very interesting.
It's a boring rabbit hole. It's hard to
sorry.
be excited about. No, it makes sense. It's hard to be excited about
fertilizer, baby. No, I get it. I understand. It's just yeah. I can't get over. Oh wait, hold on. Kowalski, you want to? Oh, you can't listen to it because I don't have it set up. I have a video in front of me of the George Santos, Mitt Romney exchange. Oh boy.
Ooh. I can just play the YouTube stream to my headphones. So.
Okay, let's do that. Let's play this. I want you on there to see it. Okay, ready? It'll be a little bit delayed for you, but close enough, I'm sure. Let me make sure. Picture in picture. All right, let's do this. Make sure I have the volume all the way up. Here we go. I don't know if people could hear it. It looks like it's a little bit far away, but it's there. Here we go. Mitt Romney, George Santos. Oh, I can't hear it. I can't make out what they're saying. I gotta put it louder. Oh wait, my bad. I don't have the volume on for listeners. All right, let's try again. Hold on, I gotta put it through the right output. Oh my God, this producing work is so. All right, here we go. I can't make out what they're saying, but I definitely look like someone says ass or asshole. It definitely looks like that. I think Romney mouths ass. I can't tell. Did you see Kowalski? Oh wait, he's still watching the stream.
Oh,
Did you see Kowalski?
I cannot hear you, Matt. And I'm at like a 15-second delay on the video, so.
Oh, okay, all right.
Maybe we should just end it here, and you can talk to the next person.
Goodbye, Kowalski.
Bye.
All right, let's go to one more, maybe two more calls. Let's see how the calls go. Let's do this. I can't make out what was said, though. All right, here we go. Hey, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Matt, can you hear me?
I can hear you. What's your name? Where are you calling from? Oh, hold on. You're breaking up. You might have a bad connection.
All right, how about now?
Oh, much better. Night and day.
Sorry.
Oh, you're on the stream too. Hold on, let me pull you up on the feed here.
Yeah, go for it.
There we go.
It's me. Anyway, it's me, Tokyo Hans.
Hey, Tokyo Hans, how are you, my friend?
I'm suddenly very depressed thanks to Kowalski. He mentioned that Sarah Huckabee Sanders is only a year older than me. I thought she was like 10 years older than me. So I feel very unaccomplished at the moment. So.
I mean, is your father a former governor of the exact place that she's governor of? I mean,
no.
She didn't accomplish anything. Like, that's a political nepo baby.
Yeah, true. But my grandfather actually was in politics back in the day, but that was in a completely different country.
Then you should feel very unaccomplished.
Yes. Thank you. So what's up? I just wanted to make a quick rant on just like on her speech and everything. That was just completely nonsensical. Just like some of her points, like there's like the water crisis, there's the schools just going to crap and everything, all of which points was caused by Republicans. Like everything about that they caused. Just they keep defunding all the schools. They keep like privatizing all the water resources and everything that goes around in like California or whatever, or I think it was in like Louisiana or something where they have that whole water crisis thing going too. And it's all because of Republicans, and she's trying to put it all on the Dems at this point. Another thing that really like just hit me is just her thing about like, the left and all their idols that we're trying to make them worship and everything. But, Trump, they have literal golden statues of Trump, the biggest idol in the world right now for them. So I don't know what the hell is going on over there. That's basically just my rant. I just wanted to rant real quick because I have nobody to rant to over here. So
No, I mean, it was a very bizarre speech. Like it was really bad. It was possibly, I mean, I don't recall every detail of all the previous ones, but it's definitely a bad one from the ones I do recall. I mean, they're all bad. But I mean, again, at least they usually focus on some sort of Republican, ideological policy issues. There was nothing there. There was nothing. It was culture war, and then a personal story about her hanging out with Trump back in 2018.
Exactly. Even Bachmann, gave some information, like some informational rebuttal.
Bachmann gave exactly what her evangelical Christian fascist base wanted to hear, and obviously disagreed, and we mocked her for that as well. But I mean, that was the purpose was to get across those things to that audience. I again, there certainly is an audience for Huckabee's speech. It's just like the conservative political pundits who get paid a lot of money to pay attention to this shit. There's no base that I can think of that this was particularly interesting to. Like, I'm not saying it's going to turn them off. I'm just saying they weren't going to be like hooting and hollering and screaming like onwards Trump, onwards DeSantis, or onwards whoever with this speech. It just was really bad for what the purpose of it is.
Yeah, I believe it's just her try at like not exactly a presidential speech, but maybe vice presidential speech, maybe trying to get into Trump's good graces over there. So.
I would love it. I would love it if she was the VP choice. Oh my God! Please, Trump, pick Huckabee Sanders.
Sure. Yeah, and according to Huckabee Sanders, America is the #1 freest country in the world. But I was just researching it on the Freedom Index. It's like 15th or something. So, yeah, another lie she's telling. The World Freedom Index.
Yeah. Oh God, this was. Well, it was night and day. It was night and day, the two speeches. I don't know how you watch that second speech as a normal person and not at least see the difference between the two speeches. Like, even if you don't agree with everything Biden said ideologically or whatever, how you don't see the difference between the two speeches at the very least. Like, yeah.
Definitely, yeah. And I'll just leave on a little note. My internet is kind of bad right now, but I don't think that Marjorie Taylor Greene's jacket was made of gerbils. I believe it was a baby seal she personally clubbed. So, yeah, that's it for me tonight. Have a good night, everybody, or day, whatever time of day it is for you guys. Have a wonderful evening.
All right, take care. It's always a pleasure talking to you, Hans.
All right.
Bloop, bloop. All right, well, let's do one more. Let's do one more call. Someone was trying to call him before. Let's do one more. One more call. Hey, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, it's Charlie from Washington. How you doing?
Hey, Charlie from Washington. I'm doing well. How about you?
That speech, like, the whole time I'm watching it, I got this. It felt basic for the most part. I mean, he's said a lot of good things in there, but like when he's talking about being good for workers and stuff after like what he did to the railway workers strike, or talking about the cops after his fund them spiel, it's a little distracting.
Right.
I'm definitely gonna have to watch it again at work because I kind of had a hard time hearing a lot of it over all of the booing in the crowd.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to watch it again too because I was trying to pay attention, also following along with some of the because a good thing about Twitter is that there are people who cover infrastructure, people who cover healthcare, and for those different parts of the speech, they commentate and fact check and add additional context to some of the things. So, and I was going to commentate much more through. I planned on it. I just wasn't expecting so much there from Biden. I really thought it was really well done for what it is. So I just basically listened and followed along for most of it. The Huckabee speech was just much more fun to watch because there was nothing to do that for. It was so bad.
Yeah, like when he was doing his speech and he said all he has to do is literally get up there and say, protect LGBTQ people, especially trans kids, and then just let the Republicans boo. And, that fucking shit-eating grin on his face, man. Like, he knows what he's doing there because you see that and instantly Tucker Carlson has his new segment, and then immediately out of the gate from Sarah Huckabee Sanders. Jesus Christ. Like, not even a second's hesitation there.
Right.
Like, with everything that he talked about, like every subject he touched on, that's how they, Yeah, so like that's realistically, he just has to be basic. If he accomplishes even like 2 or 3 of those things, we can call him a good president, which is kind of sad. But you cut to his opponent, and he's talking about the gender madness, and the guy behind him just banned African American studies because CRT was teaching queerness. So it's really no contest. They don't have to put very much effort into anything.
Right. No, absolutely.
Anyway,
I mean, it's that's just basically what we're dealing with now. Someone said Bernie absolutely killed tonight. I mean, honestly, that Biden speech was very Bernie-esque in many ways, honestly.
I do miss the red light, though. I thought it looked cool. Give him that.
What red light?
Oh, from the last time he did a speech when it was supposed to be the red, white, and blue, but it was focused in and it.
Oh! That wasn't a State of the Union speech, but yes, I remember what you're talking about.
No. It's just a speech in general.
Right.
I thought.
He should have totally just did some mood lighting. That would have been after their freak out over the Sam Smith Grammy Awards thing. They would, that would be great. They should have totally done that.
Right?
Yeah. I mean,
give them a wrestler intro,
Yeah, you know what? If they're gonna pretend the culture wars isn't their thing, then you know what? Just fucking, we should just fucking dive into it. Joe Biden should have came out with those same Spirit Halloween devil horns that Sam Smith wore at the Grammys that has Republicans up in arms.
Just come out with like lizard eye contacts on,
right,
for the camera.
Yeah. Oh, my voice. Yeah, I mean, maybe that's my cue to call it a night when my voice starts cracking. How did this take up 3 hours? Usually, I don't know. This just flew by. And I don't mean necessarily like, it flew by because, time flies when you're having fun. I just mean like, how did this take up 3 hours? Those 2 speeches took up like over 2 hours. What the fuck?
Biden's speech did not feel as long as it is. I mean, maybe I'm just used to the other guy just yammering on forever. What is time anymore?
Yeah.
Have a good night, bud.
All right, Charlie. Have a great night. All right, folks. Sort of weird show today. Because of the State of the Union. I made the call though to postpone any guests. Because it just wasn't going to be worth it. I saw the numbers on this live stream at the start. It was smaller, much smaller than usual. It's still much smaller than usual now. It's because we're competing with other live streams. People are actually watching the State of the Union like by itself. It just makes more sense to do this. Just a fun, offbeat sort of night. And then back on track with the interviews next week. But Scam Economy is coming up this week. Great guest this week. A little guest that you guys might have all heard of. Brandon Sutton making his Scam Economy debut. We had a conversation looking at the companies that advertised at last year's Super Bowl, the Crypto Bowl, the crypto companies that advertised, and where they are now, where the industry is since, and then taking a look at all the companies in the crypto industry who are advertising this year. There's a big surprise there, but I'm going to save that for the show. So folks, once again, patreon.com/MattBinder. If you can become a subscriber, I greatly appreciate it. And we did get a subscriber, just as I said that. That's fantastic. Please, folks. That's the way to do it. Tom H., thank you so much for becoming a patron. I really appreciate it. Your support helps this show grow. And there was another person who joined last week. Jonathan W., thank you once again. I almost missed you. That was from after the last Doomed, but it was last week they became a patron. So, patreon.com/MattBinder. Really appreciate it if you can. I got big things planned for this year. It's been a slow start to the year. Personally, I don't know, maybe you guys don't feel that way. For me, I feel it. Not in terms of like the content and everything. I just mean something feels slow about the start of this year. I think people are a bit not in the swing of things yet. I don't know if it's the layoffs and job prospects and what's been going on there, financial issues. I'm not sure if it's I don't know. I don't know what it is. Something feels off about the beginning of this year. It's very weird. I will read the super chats too. Don't worry about it. I'm not forgetting you super chatters. But lots of great Doomed content on the way. A lot of great guests lined up for future episodes. I'm in talks with a number of people right now for really interesting episodes. Got a lot of great scam economy content coming your way too. Interesting things going on in the scam economy department as well, that I will hopefully be able to share with you as the year progresses. What else? Other projects in the works too. As you know, I was grabbing email addresses for a newsletter, and I really think that's the next sort of project to work on. I know you're all thinking, where's the time? Obviously, there's probably going to be a mix of different things. I'm trying things out. Still going to give you guys tons of content, just trying out scheduling. Maybe instead of these 2 shows this week, we'll try one show this week and a newsletter this week, and then the other show next week and another show, just trying things out, still aiming for the same amount of content, but just trying to see what else I could get you guys out there. But I'm thinking this newsletter needs to launch next because it's the one thing that's missing right now. I got the audio content with the podcasts, got the video content with the video versions of these, the live stream and everything. Need a written contextual component as well. So hold on. Someone just asked if they could call into my show on Twitter. I'm a sucker for people reaching out, wanting to call in. I respect the... Let me... Let me just let them know. Eric says more Doomed would be better. Crypto is already pretty much dead. IMO. Honestly, it's funny because stream-wise, the live streams, Doomed does better. Podcast-wise, Scam Economy does better. And Scam Economy the Scam Economy's numbers blow it all out of the water. Like, Scam Economy is my most successful show, hands down. I hate that. I think we are in a bubble that sees the writing on the wall for crypto, but crypto is not dead yet, or far from it, honestly. Steven says visual content is God. You'd be surprised. I think most of my audience actually might prefer, overwhelmingly. Obviously, my YouTube audience and Twitch audience doesn't prefer text content. But like on Twitter, I think I'm missing out on probably the majority of people who follow me there by not doing long form text stuff. I mean, I do for my day job. I write articles, but my own stuff I need to do. Chopsis says Scam Economy is gonna have to find a non-crypto target. I'm gonna I think Scam Economy is still mostly a crypto show, but I am planning on broadening out to other scams in like the online tech world. Let's take this call. Last call
Hello?
of the day. Hey, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yo, Matt, man, I'm a big fan now. It's Hansy.
Hey, you said Tansy?
Hansy. I used to be on the Howard. I used to be on the Howard Stern show. I listened to you on, like, you're like one of the more you're one of the more bearable people on Majority Report, in my personal opinion. No, I listened to you a couple of times. I used to be on the Stern show, whatever. I used to be like an edgelord, but then like I had a social awakening, and then I see the pro wrestling and all of this element that's going on. I think that we're sports entertaining our way into fascism, if that makes sense.
First of all, you're throwing so much shit at me that I'm like, that is each of them super interesting. Hold on. So, former Howard Stern contributor.
If you look up Hansy Howard Stern, all my trolls, all the insane, like I'm still a conspiracy guy, but I'm not a right conspiracy guy. But in the 2010s, I was falling for, the cookie cutter conspiracy shit that the right wing is now famous for, and because I never wanted to go more to the right wing side, because people thought that I would oppose Howard because Howard's a liberal apparently, but like I don't buy that Howard's a liberal, so I didn't want to go on the right wing side, basically the right wing gimmick. So now I look at political stuff as pro wrestling, because it's basically the same idea. You know what I mean? Like all the discourse to me is like, even like I have criticism like alt media in some ways, because I feel villains, even though we dunk on them, I just think that like everyone is like kind of finding their way of going more to the right wing each and every way. Like everyone that like I listen to Jimmy Dore a lot, and now he has gone more right wing. It's like everyone that was in the alt media space feels like they have sold out in some way, and their whole base of the personality is mainstream media shit. So listen to what I have to say. And I used to fall for that type of shit. And now I just don't trust anybody, really, to tell you the truth. You're one of the more bearable guys that I can listen to, that I can kind of agree with on certain things. You know what I mean? Not every single thing, obviously, but not like anything that will make me hate your guts or anything like that. But just like, I just look at the world much more differently than everyone else, I guess.
Wow, this is, first of all, thank you. I appreciate the kind words. And of course, I don't want everyone to agree with everything I say. Everyone should have, that's where some interesting discussions come from. So what pushed you? Geez, I wish. This might sounds like this conversation really could be an episode in and of itself, but let's talk for a little bit, if you have some time.
No, that's cool, bro. I've been wanting to talk to you for a while. I subscribe to your podcast and like everything like that. So like I had to like delete other podcasts I used to listen to that were kind of like progressive, but that I moved more to the right. So like you're one of the only voices right now. You and the Surf TV are probably the only people. And Ravana too. Even though I think TYT is shit, but I like Ravana though. You know what I mean? I don't hold anyone like personally responsible for their institutions and all that kind of stuff, but I don't fuck with TYT because they're a sports entertainer. Like Anna wants to be a sports entertainer so goddamn badly. She should just join the Jericho Appreciation Society, basically.
So wait, hold on. So what are some of the I know you mentioned Jimmy Dore. What are some of the other anti-establishment streamers that you listen to that you've seen going further and further to the right?
So not so much like Glenn Greenwald's one guy that I used to like listen to. Yeah. Joe Rogan used to be someone he used to have like guys like Immortal Technique on his show, Abby Martin and all that. Right. And then when I started noticing the more, like I started noticing with the Opie and Anthony show, because they opposed Howard. They're the ones that made me kind of exposed to how the right wing kind of manipulates. Like they take advantage of like the political correctness being overbearing, but then they twist it to the right wing shit. And I used to fall work in a lot of work trauma from harassment from organized trolls and all that kind of stuff, to basically like get me on the path that I am on. Like even though I'm still like my aesthetic is still horrible. Like meaning that any aesthetic, any horrible aesthetic that you equate like incels and right-wing conspiracy theorists, I might fit the bill aesthetically, even though I do not believe in a lot of like I kind of broke out of that. But I'm not gonna lie to you, if I didn't break out of it, I probably would have been like the typical mega Trump guy who's like talking about the deep state only now for like limited purposes. You know what I mean? So I try to like look at how the online shit has become a marketing tool as well. Because like people think because you're talking about on the internet that is not a corporate tool. And I think that because like people go, oh, the Hunter Biden story is censored. If it's so censored, then why the fuck am I hearing about it all the time then?
Right. Right. So
you know what I mean?
What is it do you think that like if you can track something that made you sort of realize that this isn't the path that you wanted to go down when you say you were, you know, you felt that you were starting to you stopped yourself before you went further right and then went the other direction. Okay. What was it that you think that sort of broke you? Like, what was it the moment that you realized, holy shit, what's going on here?
Okay, one of the things that I have a paranoia about, and this is why I think the left kind of sometimes might lose the I'm not saying like you're wrong, like the people on the left are wrong to point out that like all these right wingers are talking about groomers for their own fascist fucking fundamentalist way, but like I do believe in show business that there are like initiated type of rules where you got to do homoerotic things that you're kind of like being on the Howard Stern. Like if I didn't partake in like homoerotic discourse, I sometimes I wouldn't get on the fucking air. So back, so then how can anything be the LGBTQ community business are who are you know closeted themselves are like putting people through homoerotic initiations and all that. So I would go down that direction.
Well, hold on. I actually need to ask you now. What was the Howard Stern show making you do?
Do you ever know if you ever watch Howard Stern? Do you ever notice how like whenever they have somebody on, then like to go, oh, this guy's a part of this guy is like a good person to be a part of this game, so that they'll make him do like me that they'll have like for example when they had Chris Kanyon on, people remember when Chris Kanyon was talking about the homophobia from the WWE. Then people forget that right afterwards, Howard made Chris Kanyon play a homoerotic game where he's checking different guys' shaft pouches on the staff, like degrading him to be like, even though he's saying that he's for it, like just doing that. People were forced into doing that kind of stuff because I believe that these guys like they look at they look at homosexuality as a negative. So they think that makes you that's an humiliation. So it fucked with my mind where I became more homophobic toward more homophobic where I thought like
right, but that's like I mean that's I see what you're saying in terms of like that for you would make you I guess trend in that direction. But I mean that actually shows just how homophobic like actually like anti LGBT the industry is, because Howard Stern didn't do that to like promote understanding back when he was that guy. He viewed gay people as like something to make fun of, like, oh, let's have Chris Kanyon, who's this rare at the time, the one openly gay pro wrestler, let's make a mockery of him being gay instead of treat him being the only openly gay pro wrestler, instead of treating that as like something like interesting and something to respect, because Chris Kanyon wasn't out there doing stuff like that as his gimmick. You know what I mean?
I know, but I don't know when you start listening to Howard, but like during the 2000s, this is why I started listening to Howard, because before he was like people think that he was the best in the 90s, even though his show in the 90s resembles what alt-right media is now. But like in 2004, when he started questioning George Bush and he started kind of questioning the Pentagon official story, I noticed that he started going more like to the left, and he had like imagery of join the revolution for Sirius satellite radio. So I thought that he was being more liberal because he was being more understanding. But at the same time, he had staff members that he would play dumb about, but he would let them say about this stuff. So he wasn't saying it because he got ahead of the cancel culture thing. He changed his image before like they could cancel him basically, but he would still have a bunch of racist people calling Robin the N-word and all that. But then he would say that I'm not, and because I was a genuine caller that was like sucked in to the reality show and I was used as a foil for the show, and I felt like they were fucking with me in my real life and all that kind of shit. I didn't know that I was being a part of a fucking like I didn't know that every other caller could have been a fake stand-in caller, basically. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm trying to say. That like in 2006, Howard pretended to be more considerate George Takei on, and George Takei would tell compelling stories about what it's like to be a gay man, and I felt like those are compelling things. But then he would reduce George to talk about like, oh, why don't you go grab that guy's cock and all that kind of stuff, even though he would, oh, I'm being gay friendly to everybody and all that. You know what I mean?
Right. No, I see what you're saying. I mean, I think the thing there is that like he was making a mockery out of it because that's who he was. You know what I mean? Like I don't think it was done in a way that like promoted the idea, like promoted LGBT people. You know?
Well, no. Well, I think what makes like what blurs that line is that he'll like do. Yeah, you're right. He'll do the humiliation thing, but at the same breath, he'll be like, I'm an ally. So in my fucked up head, I'll be like, well, he says he's an ally, and then he's like doing this reductionist shit, basically kind of forcing people to like partake in this kind of stuff. So I always looked at that as like, oh, so there's the LGBTQ agenda, basically. And the reason why I'm pointing that out, because I feel like everyone in show business has to do some fucked up shit. So when the right wing is pointing out that there's grooming going on, they will define a situation. But like, here's a couple of years ago, there was a video of Genuine, the R&B singer, rejecting a trans woman for giving him a lap dance. And then that became the sensationalist shit online that was promoted. So it manufactures consent through, viral videos and all that to basically go, oh, look, the trans community, they're like predatory-like and all that kind of stuff. Like that dominates. And I think some of these entertainment accounts online help manufacture consent for the right wing when they did. So because when you manufacture consent and you pass laws, no one's going to give a fuck about the laws being passed. So I started noticing that I'd fall for those kind of sensational shit that the right wing will use when they always go, oh, look, the LGBTQ are the bullies, the trans community are the bullies, the black community are the bullies. Like they'll do that and they'll promote a sensationalist story basically to basically show you that this is getting out of control. That's how I kind of woke up a little bit to it.
Right.
If that makes sense.
I see what you're saying. They use these edge cases that go viral as fodder to basically fuel their right wing machine.
I know you follow politics, so you're deep into this, right? But I'm talking about people who don't follow politics, who will look at this who will look at that genuine situation, and they won't look at themselves as political. They'll be like, oh no, that was wrong for that trans person to forcefully give him a lap dance when he didn't want to. So some people don't look at themselves as being political, and they're just reacting to stories, but they don't realize that they're being sucked in to actual like manufacturing consent to have disdain for certain groups of people in the generalized sense, basically. You know what I mean? That's when I started realizing it, and so I'm kind of my own right now. I'm still trying to figure shit out. So I'm sorry for like extending your show. I know you wanted to get off.
No. I always like when people call in with different new callers call in with interesting sort of takes or stories even. I mean, I always especially love talking to people who sort of found their way out of any sort of right-wing rabbit hole. It's my whole thing. I love hearing these stories. I've
always thought that the edgelord stuff, like the like from the 90s even, I felt like a lot of that stuff, like looking back now, like you know how like the most like in movies and television in the 90s, whenever there's a corporate bad guy, it has to be a corporate bad guy that's out of touch, and he's like he wants political correctness, so that you think that the person who does political incorrectness is his anti-hero. So I think that we've literally been consumed by entertainment that now we've manifested it into like just look at like the State of the Union. Half of the discourse online is about what people are wearing, like what Kristen Sinema looks like somebody to me that feels like Tina Fey basically created this character for political discourse, basically. You know what I mean? Like I feel like a lot of the a lot of the storylines you see online and going viral, it feels like the Boondocks. It feels like Married with Children. It feels like pro wrestling. Because again, I'm obsessed with pro wrestling.
No,
so,
I honestly think if you are interested and follow, like if you are a fan of pro wrestling, you probably, and this is not you specifically, I mean anyone who's a wrestling fan, knows way more about the current, political sort of outlook than I think they realize, because a lot of it really is pro wrestling, at least since especially I should say since Trump, because I mean, he was a wrestling character himself.
Well, I compare it to this. You know how the Attitude era in wrestling? I say that the Trump was the beginning of the Attitude era of politics, and then basically the traditional rules that applied were thrown out the window because nothing makes sense anymore. And now we're in the ruthless aggression era, where we're rehashing the 2010s and 2016 essentially, because now the creative isn't as creative anymore. It's just rehash of who can be the edgiest fucking person, but it doesn't. It reeks of it doesn't seem like genuine. It seems like when Vince McMahon was trying to force it more in post Attitude Era, where you have your Katie Vick storylines and all that kind of shit. You know what I mean? That's what I feel the discourse is right now. Even though the Trump era was the Attitude Era of politics, basically.
Right. No, I think that's pretty good. Example there. I think a lot of times, and I think you're right, I think they know that they could play this, certain stories will play to the American public who is not very much into politics and even the culture wars and doesn't have much of an understanding of how this all works. And they do play into it. The unfortunate thing is that's sort of not even that's, and you know this, because this is what was your realization, and it got you out from going down that rabbit hole or further down that rabbit hole, is that stuff doesn't matter. That stuff is not what's actually, putting forth any sort of actual real change in people's lives. One story about one specific edge case in the media industry, or one random viral video showcasing one or two people who are, again, edge cases who don't broadly reflect anybody else. So it's I do think that's a lot of what they use. The whole idea of this groomer bullshit. They use an edge case scenario, and that's what, but of course they never use any sort of actual trend that does actually exist with the Catholic Church or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. But if you want to talk for a bit, I can talk. I just want to make sure that I'm not holding you back or anything like that, because I didn't want you to get caught in my web of horseshit, because I'm a mental, I won't lie to you, I'm a mentally ill guy, so I'm always the most stable guy, but I've had for the last few times, whatever, you know what I mean? I just dealt with a lot of white supremacists that have tried to label me because I went socially conscious, and they got mad that I was more appeasing to socially conscious issues whenever I do a stream or anything like that. So so basically I chose to just do a podcast for 15 people where no one paid attention to me, so I can avoid a lot of the fucking people that pile on me, you know what I mean? But I do have solidarity with people that are actually doing good work, and you're one of the guys that I actually I've tuned into now. I hope you don't become a sports entertainer as well, bro. I you know what I mean? Because I'm getting burnt left and right here from everyone turning to a sports entertainer, bro. You know what
Listen,
I mean?
if I became a sports entertainer, it would be in the sense of I suddenly actually, as a side thing, unrelated to politics, got hired by the WWE or AEW and was an actual on-screen character. I would not do sports entertainment in the actual political world. I have no. If one, if any of these people want to all of a sudden become on a completely second job status, WWE personality, I have no problem with that. But there's a separation there.
No, I get you, man. I get you, bro. What's it called? But like, but I need more sane. I need more sane commentary, and I think like Guy and the Surf TV are two people right now that have, and also I'll say me. Well, Media Roots, like Abby Martin and Robbie Martin, they don't really fall into like a lot of the culture war stuff. They kind of like, do good analysis, whatever, right? It's just guys like Jimmy Dore and people associated with it. And then like when he has Kurt Metzger on, and I know Kurt Metzger from like the Opie and Anthony show, and he was never really a good personality. So I already know that this guy's a horseshit. So when I finally unsubscribed from Jimmy Dore's show because I just felt like the last he completely like fell off the radar for me, and it's like it's kind of fucking sad. Like I understand there's criticism against the Democrats that you can make, but like this guy is like normalizing more rhetoric against Canada because like the right wing is trying to have a fascist takeover in Canada somehow for some reason, and and I just don't understand why. But I'll be honest, man. With the vaccine, that type of stuff, like I'm vaccinated, but I'm also like some of these rhetoric. Like they make me fucking scared because sometimes like the mainstream media doesn't tell you every single thing. So then guys like Jimmy Dore and all these guys, they rely on like, well, I'm going to tell you the mainstream media shit. So listen to what I have to say about the vaccine, and then like and then you start questioning yourself if I'm falling for more propaganda. So I'm a dumbed down guy, so I've been following the overall trend all my life, where it'd be easier for me to just follow along. And each way I get frustrated to realize that I've been following propaganda. So that's the only way I can explain it, that I've tried to like cut myself off from always like following some of the culture war fucking shit because it fucked with my head a lot, basically. If that makes sense.
No, I hear what you're saying. It's it's weird to see. You've been if you're. I mean, use this example because you're using it. It's weird to see someone like Jimmy Dore, who you've been following, and you know him as, this like anti-establishment progressive figure, and you've been following him since his TYT days, and he was a Bernie guy, and you enjoy his content, and all of a sudden 2020 rolls around, and he's an anti-vaxxer, and he's saying all this shit about, the left should team up with the right wing to take on they should take on the establishment by, teaming up with racists. Like I'm not saying like just broad conservatives. I mean like literally saying like racist groups, you should team up with them and take on the establishment. It's got to be jarring if you're a Jimmy Dore fan.
No, I was also going to say that how like when 9/11 happened, like what's his name, Dennis Miller became like a really like a right wing guy, whatever. I feel like now in this era, it took COVID, quote comedians, to show that they're Dennis Miller moment, but GH and Red Bull basically.
Yes, the COVID really, honestly, destroyed some people's minds. They went bonkers over it. I think there's a very dangerous way you can go when you become driven strictly by anti-establishmentism for the purpose of being anti-establishment, where it becomes more of an aesthetic than you're actually anti-establishment because you disagree with what's being said on in corporate media, but based in your own ideological beliefs. Like, listen, if you are paying attention to any sort of CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, whatever, obviously you either you listen to it because you believe whatever they're saying and you're into it and you take what they say hook, line, sinker, no questions asked. Or you're in the category of, you listen to it to see what's being put out there. You realize that this is this is mainstream media, and you want to take in what the broader public is listening to, and you come to the realization that they put a lot of real news stories out there, but they also cover those real news stories in ways that sort of angle it in a scenario that may benefit them. For example, when they cover a lot of job related or economic or corporate stories, you can clearly tell the anti-worker or pro-employer bent on a lot of that coverage. But you come to that realization. But then there's that other category that's just like, everything they say is a lie. I'm not going to look at it critically. I'm not going to realize how it's covered and try to understand it. It's just full on bullshit. I'm anti-establishment. I think the far end of believing everything they say is dangerous. I think the other side of that end, where everything is just outright 100%, I'm not even going to look at it critically, it's just all lies, and I think that's dangerous too. I mean, I think you have to view this media as other people view it and say, okay, this is the truth here, and this is how they sort of cover it at a certain angle in order to get across a certain opinion that they want to get across. Because the idea that and the perfect example is the vaccines. You should not be like, Pfizer is great and wonderful what they do, wonderful corporation. But you should also not be, because they're a big corporation, big pharma, they're poisoning us. No, the criticism of on Pfizer shouldn't be that this vaccine is deadly, because obviously there's no proof of that. Scientists and medical professionals have debunked any of those sort of criticisms. The problem with Pfizer is that they have this monopoly over this vaccine, or they don't want to open source the vaccine to countries that or people who can't afford it in certain countries, so that they can make their own version. The problem is the way they monetize and financially gain from this life-saving vaccine. But then when you actually pay attention to that, you'll realize that the people who profit from Pfizer doing the actual bad things they do, they are behind a lot of this anti-vaccine rhetoric. So people then are not paying attention to the actual problems with Pfizer. Pfizer doesn't care. Pfizer doesn't care that you're out there spreading this bullshit about the vaccine. That's not actually paying attention to the real thing that Pfizer would care about. And that is, and when I say you, I'm not saying you, I mean the people.
No, I mean, yeah. I fit. Listen, man. I fit in. I fit in with what you're talking about, because I used to fall for that kind of stuff. Because the way that here's the thing with the whole vaccine thing. I remember when I got on the internet, because I used to be part of the Stern Show, so I used to be on the internet a lot, and I thought I had a lot of conversations. And some of the discourse, now it makes sense why a lot of the edgelord accounts online were manufacturing consent 10 years ago, whether it be the abortion angle, whether it be the vaccine angle. And I used to be moving in a more progressive way because Obama got in office. So I thought we're moving in a more progressive way. I thought all these bad faith actors who are going anti-vaccine or anti-abortion, I thought it was just in fun online. I had no idea that we're moving a fascist fucking thing. So I took those arguments online seriously. I used to go, hey, in 2013, someone goes, I'm anti-vaccine. And people would make a big deal. And it always seemed like the people that were the ones that were against bullies against the guy that would say, I'm anti-vaccine, even though it just seemed like he was just giving you his opinion. And I go, well, I mean, I'm sure there's something fucked up with some vaccines, not all vaccines. So I never understood that conversation. But now that the pandemic hit, now it completely makes sense on how they've now taken 2010's discourse online and now amplified it on a mainstream level, if that makes sense. Because that's what used to be my train of thought, because I don't know the science. Even if you tell me the science, my dumbed down ass doesn't know particularly, I don't understand the science. Even if you tell me, like if you tell me the Earth is round, right? I'll believe you because you're giving me scientific. But if you tell me, can you explain why the Earth is round? I couldn't really explain to you because I'm kind of a dumbed down guy, if that makes sense. So if someone goes, well, they want you to think that science is doing this, but did you know that science is really like some other thing? And then you'll go to flat Earth territory basically. So that's like how I try to break out of it by because when you are in this conspiracy mind, whatever, a lot of those message board people, they don't let you ask any questions at all, which makes me go, then if you guys are questioning the mainstream media, then why can't I question what you guys are doing? Because you guys are doing it in bad faith. I'm sorry for jumbling all this up, but that's like the process of 2010's discourse that fucked my mind up basically, and I almost became a right winger without even realizing that I became a right winger. If that makes sense.
Right. No, I totally get what you're saying. I think we should pause this conversation. I would love to have you back on, like maybe as like an actual show guest, like not just a caller, a guest to really, so we really have like a full like hour to talk this through and get through all the different. So I really appreciate you calling in. I love people who regularly listen to the show. They're talking in the chat right now about how I love these sort of conversations because it's right. This is my thing. So let's just pause the conversation here. I'll reach out to you. Let's come back to this. I'll have you on as a guest. We'll schedule something in a couple of weeks so you could come back on. You're free to call in whenever you want. But we'll schedule something like in stone for a couple of weeks. And I really look forward to talking with you about this in more depth.
Yeah, okay, dude, I really appreciate it. And just again, thank you for being one of the sane voices and I might every single thing, but I do think that your heart's in the right place, and I'm getting burnt left and right by having parasocial relationships with platform people who say they're speaking the truth, but then they end up being something else. So I just wanted to give you a shout out and say that I've been listening to your podcast. And if I had more money like to my name, I would subscribe to your Patreon as well. And hopefully I will, because I've enjoyed your work that I've seen. So I subscribe to your YouTube channel and everything. And so thank you for letting me on, and I appreciate it. And I'm sorry for holding you up.
No. Don't apologize at all. I'm glad we did this. Looking forward to talking with you again real soon.
Peace out, bro. Thank you so much.
Have a great night. That was great. I really enjoyed that call. People are saying we have time. Honestly, I mean, we do technically have time. We have time until literally there's nothing stopping. I got to take my kids to school in the morning. That's pretty much it. But I am exhausted. And when I get tired, I can feel myself with this type of call. I got like a second wind, but I will eventually lose that second wind and get tired again. And then I don't want to give anyone a half-assed performance in terms of me being able to pay attention to them. So it's best we save this conversation. And I'll be back here tomorrow for Scam Economy. That's the plan right now, barring any issues with getting the episode together. And I didn't even get to finish my conversation about. Well, I'll talk more about tomorrow about future things in the works that I'm working on. If you also want some opinion from anyone who's works with cameras, it's been a while since I've purchased a camera. I bought this. I use a Panasonic Lumix G7 for the stream. It's a mirrorless camera. I think I got it in 2020 with Patreon's support, with patron support for like $500 or something. And I feel like when I went to CES, I messed up the entire setup I had because this camera basically never moves. So I want to get a second camera, which I will also set up as a secondary camera, but will be much more mobile. But I also want to get an upgraded camera, like an upgrade from the Lumix. I know I was looking at Panasonic because I already have Panasonic lenses with micro four thirds. But then I fucking saw this Sony FX30 cinema camera, and it's fucking the footage. It's the most beautiful footage I've ever seen at that price range that doesn't require insane setup like the fucking, if you're not a camera person, you might not get any of these things I'm saying, but it's not like the Black Magic cameras. God, I want that FX30, Sony FX30. It's like a $1,700 camera though. It just came out. If you have any experience with it, let me know. I would consider this being like this would end up being like the one major purchase of the year for that I would use, because it'd be for completely, like, this is obviously for work. The idea with getting a second camera is I want a mobile one, especially that's easy for me to just take out, because I would like to do some on the ground in the field stuff as we approach, frankly, this upcoming election year. Don't forget the Republican primaries are going to be in full swing come this summer. This is when it starts. So MFP says Sony cameras don't feel like cameras to me, and those are 2,000, not 1,700. For that money, get a Sony A7 III or A7 II with a nice prime lens or two. No, the FX30 is 17. And I'm pretty sure the A7 is more. Also, I want the cinema cam. I don't care about still photos, and most of those cameras are mostly still photo cameras where they highlight. Yeah, the FX30 is cheaper than the A7 III. I don't know. I've heard ZVE10. I was looking. That was the original one I was gonna go for. But the lack of stabilization, in-body stabilization, and the rolling shutter I've seen in some of the footage turned me away. It seems like it's a good... If I was looking for a camera just to be stationary, like the Lumix camera I have is, that would be probably the camera I'd go for. But I want one that's really good in the field. And the FX30 looks like it's really fucking good. I'll look at the differences between the FX30 and the A7. But that FX30 is looking. Now the A7 II would be the equivalent. Seems like maybe just a slight upgrade from maybe the Lumix that I have. I'll look more into the A7 III. I don't know, used, it's not that far off from the FX30. I'm not saying the FX3, by the way. The FX3 is like a $4,000, $5,000 camera, and that is not something I will ever probably have the funds for. The FX30 is probably like the most top of the line camera I could afford. That's like MacBook, that's like the price of a new MacBook Pro, which is also like the most expensive purchase I've ever made. I'll look into the difference between the A7 III versus FX30, but the FX30, the fact that it's a film camera, like video film, like that's really winning me over. Because that's one of the things I actually don't like so much about the Lumix. You could tell with these mirrorless cameras that obviously more people are using them for video, but they're still mainly created with photography in mind. And I never use them for photography. And the reason I'm thinking of Sony over Panasonic is the fucking autofocus and the locking in on faces. Sony has, from what I've seen, the best autofocus in the industry. And when you're a solo person, whether it's vlogging or when I go out and film stuff, I'm going to be by myself for the most part. And so autofocus is huge. If you don't have someone to help you with like manual focus, or, you know, if I'm shooting like a interview or something with like pull focus and shit, yeah, I wouldn't have a crew. Yeah, I'm 100% focused on. Check out the Sony FX30 to see the type of camera, why it's won me over. It is a cinema line camera, which means it's got like film quality. It's like movie quality. It's got that the color and the sampling and the bit rate and all the features that give it that like cinematic look. And I want that for shooting stuff, obviously. I have plenty of webcams and mirrorless cameras that get you just like the vlogging look. I'm looking to upgrade because I want to actually film stuff for little, like, you know, not just like the usual streams I'm doing. Some of my ideas, like, you remember that like Jimmy Dore thing I did, like the investigative piece? I'd like to do that, but not just like face the camera. I want to go out in the field. That's some of my plans that I'm working out. I'm already like, you know, talking to people and trying to get things. You know, it's totally dependent on me getting the equipment and the time, but I'm working on it. We'll see. You guys got to remember, I went to film school, so I could be a stickler for some of the stuff that I know some of you are saying. Oh, your current image is fine. Yeah, this is fine for YouTube, like video, like live streaming. But I wanna up the quality. I wanna up the quality. I think you would notice it if you saw it, like side by side. All right, let's go to some super chats. Mariah with a super chat. Jimmy John's pioneered the sandwich non-compete. Yes, that was brought up in the Biden brought that. He didn't say Jimmy John's, but he brought that up in his State of the Union. C. DeJinmeyer with a $10 super chat. Thanks for getting us through it, bud. I appreciate that. I don't think I did too much, honestly. Biden's speech was pretty good. I'll take that credit for the Huckabee one, though. Let's go to Twitch now. Socialist Teddy Bear, subscribe for 6 months to Tier 1. Thank you so much. Don James 1676, resubscribe for 1 month to Tier 1. Subscriber for 7 months. Thank you so much, Don James. And Mimi, he says. Pre-breakfast banana cheered 100 bits. Thank you so much. Oh, I missed this before. Shark30 rated me with a party of 47 viewers. How did I miss that? I'm so sorry. Thank you, Shark30. Mr. Blake B resubscribed from 1 month at tier 1. Subscriber for 3 months. Thank you so much with the little, is that a muscly Pepe emoji? Rude Dog 2525 resubscribed with Prime. Subscriber for 5 months. Artistic Simplicity resubscribed for 1 month at tier 1. Subscriber for 6 months. Crooked Nose Go subscribed with Prime. Thank you so much for that's a new subscription. So Crooked Nose Goes. Master Cat PDX resubscriber Prime subscriber for 3 months. Thank you so much for the subscriptions, everybody. Really appreciate the support. All right, who should I raid over on Twitch? Oh, and I saw someone saying before that Public Utility said Matt touches on music occasionally. Could be an opportunity to expand. Not really looking for additional channels. I know. Listen, I'm not gonna ever. Well, not ever, but for now, being that this channel isn't huge, I mean, if the channel ever blew up and I had a lot of subscribers, I would then look into doing what other YouTubers are doing when they get to a certain popularity range, and open other channels for specific for specific types of videos. But I have been also, throwing around the idea of doing not just, the usual political content. I mean, you guys know I talk about tech a lot and music a lot. Doing some of that content, it would be uploaded to this channel too. If you didn't like it, just skip the video. I know I might lose some subscribers who like only getting that specific niche they subscribe to in their feed, but maybe it would work out. I'd have to try it out. Again, when I'm saying all this stuff, I'm just thinking out loud with you guys. Literally, I'm not going to have time to do all this different content, but this is some of the stuff I'm working on in terms of trying to see what's feasible and what's not. And that camera is... I've been obsessing over it for a couple of weeks now. Gotta not pulling the trigger yet. Gotta really think this out and save up a little bit. Payment plans are wonderful. If you know you can actually pay them off before the interest. And a lot of these camera stores for these big purchases do have year-long payment plans with no interest as long as you pay them off. The FX30 would be like $150 a month if I bought it, which is not too bad, honestly, in terms of a business expense. Probably would not buy something for pure enjoyment or hobby purposes that cost $150 a month, but being that I do make monthly income from YouTube and Twitch and the Patreon, the $150 a month to upgrade that in order to hopefully get more YouTube subscribers and Twitch subscribers and Patreon subscribers would be a worthwhile expense. Let's see. Who's Nabil225 over on Twitch? Nabil225. Let's see. Who is this? What are they are they on right now? What are they talking about? This is someone new I have not rated before. I gotta wait for this ad to end. Exploring Canadian Black history and combating conservative talking points. Let's do it. Let's send them over to Nabil225. I've never rated Nabil before. And so I always look to raid new people over on Twitch. So I will raid them. All right, folks. Really appreciate it. Once again, youtube.com/Matt Binder. Subscribe there. Follow me on Twitch, twitch.tv/MattBinder. If you're an Amazon Prime subscriber, consider giving me your free Twitch Prime subscription that you get every month. Or if you prefer subscribing with the paid subscription on Twitch too, I'll take those too. Most importantly, patreon.com/MattBinder, and subscribe there if you can afford to become a paying subscriber. As you can see, I have a lot of ideas. I would like to try some of these out, see what hits, see what doesn't, try to grow the show, grow the viewership. If I can grow the viewership, then I get to try more of this stuff out. It's a vicious cycle, isn't it? But the Patreon subscribers really, along with the YouTube and Twitch paying subscribers and super chatters, really help fund this entire operation. So your support, greatly appreciated. I will see you all, barring any sort of technical issues. I will see you tomorrow for Scam Economy. I'll let you guys know if anything comes up. The episode is recorded. I just have to find the time to edit it a little bit, and throw an intro on there. And then it should be good to go for tomorrow. And then, of course, Majority Report Thursday, Leftist Mafia Thursday. You could always follow me on Twitter @MattBinder, and I'll talk about this tomorrow on the stream, where I went at it apparently with Ben Shapiro for a little bit. He quote tweeted me on Twitter today. I wanted to get to it, but it really deserves its own segment. The whole friggin' get the ChatGPT AI bot to say a racial slur to save the world bullshit discourse the conservatives are obsessed with. We need a little bit more time than we had tonight for that. I will see you all next time on Doomed, folks. I didn't even do a second half. We just went straight from the State of the Union and the response to taking calls. Stick around for the Twitch streamer I'm going to raid if you would like. And have a great night. I will see you all next time.